Okay, I think we're live. And I'm also thinking about changing the name of this podcast to exactly that. I think we're live because I think this is probably the 10th, 12th or so time that I've done one of these podcasts. And I want to say at the least, maybe 100%, but at least 90% of them have started out with those very words. I think we're live. And the reason being is because it's a work in progress, a lot of work and a lot of progress as far as teaching myself how to do all this stuff with the technical side of things. And speaking of that, sorry for the 5 or 6 minute delay. I was having some tech issues. A super fan of mine and former place winner named Tim Miller out of Highland Riverside, I caught him trying to steal my internet router, and he almost got away with it. So I don't know. I got to get better at coming up with my excuses for tech issues. But I'm going to try and get somebody to call in. I procrastinate. As you guys all know, I have a tendency to procrastinate stuff so badly. And just kind of turns out that everybody that's on these two matches that I'm going to do commentary on, they're both Iowa high school state wrestling finals matches. Unless anybody would like to see a different one, if so, put it in the comments. But one of these days I'd like to get like Ike Light or Jeff McGinnis, one of these guys, to come on here and do the commentary with me. I think it'd be pretty cool. But this one here will be more so of a test run, because I tried doing this last week. I tried doing commentary to a finals match with Rick Moreno and Mike Euchre, and you can barely hear us because the volume wasn't balanced right. So I want to kind of work with this and have you guys help me out in terms of trying to get the volume all set up. There's going to be a huge emphasis in the future on live videos like this, whether I go to events and record these things or if I just do these, because Facebook came up with another monetization system that I think will benefit me more than any of their other stuff, other systems will, to where if you reach a certain milestone as far as total minutes viewed by people out there watching with me or watching as I go on, I think I have to reach 600,000 total minutes viewed, and 60,000 total minutes have to be live minutes viewed, and it will qualify me for inserting ads into my live shows, which, as somebody that's on the verge of having to go dumpster diving for pop cans for extra money, this is a big thing. So, and I'm not even close to being there. I'm like a fifth of the way there, but I've got 60 days to do it, and I started about 10 days ago. So even if you leave this broadcast, it's going to sound so silly. Even if you go away and leave for a little bit with this broadcast, it'd be really, really cool if you did me a solid and kept your phone on and let the broadcast going, because those minutes add up. I get credit for them. I don't know. That would be your way of giving back to a poor guy. So if you want to go to bed feeling all warm and fuzzy about your kind deeds for the day, then that'd be a good way. Happy birthday shout outs. We're gonna review a couple. We're gonna review and do commentary on a couple matches today. This will be more so of a trial run. I think I already said this, but I just want to make sure that I've got the volume balanced out to where when I do these in the future, I have it all set up when we start going, instead of trying to backpedal and get everything set up after the fact. So quality is probably not going to be very good at the first part of doing these commentaries. The commentary from the match might block out my commentary. That's what happened last week. And if it happens, please let me know in the comments so I can adjust things. So wanted to get to some birthday shout outs and give some props to a couple few people, and then we'll get going. I was going to get Ike Light to comment on to do a commentary with this, but I didn't try getting a hold of him until like afternoon today, so that's my fault. I texted McGinnis. Don't know if he got it or not, but if anybody has him on speed dial or if anybody's around him, let him know that I hooked him up the link if he wants to do commentary on his finals match from 1991. I would rather do a finals match from him for a different year though, because he wasn't the featured match in 1991. In 1991, the featured match was 1A, which was Ike Light versus Jamie Cochran. Ike Light of Lisbon versus Jamie Cochran of Moravia. But we're not doing that one first. We're gonna do a commentary to 1986 2A 112 Tom Brands of Sheldon High School versus his future hammer teammate, Chad Zaputil of Centerville. These two would go on to become some of the most decorated Iowa hockey wrestlers of that entire era of all time, really, and practice partners, I'm guessing, because Chad Zaputil in the late 80s, early 90s, if I remember correctly, was the guy that started out. He was the lightest one in the lineup. Like, what was it, 118 or 119 or something? And then it went to Terry Brands after him and Tom Brands. And Chad Zaputil wrestled both of those guys in the state finals. I don't know if people realize that. Chad Zaputil, for those of you who don't know, was a 3-time NCAA finalist. I think he got runner-up all 3 of those years. He was my absolute favorite wrestler of all time as a little kid. I'd say Zaputil and the 2 Brands twins, Travis Weiser, Bart Chelsvig, Mark Ryland, John Ostendorp, all those guys were the wrestlers that Eric Aiken from Iowa State. See, when you grow up in Southeast Iowa, really the only wrestling that you see on TV they take place in Iowa. And it was usually between Iowa and Oklahoma State, or Iowa State and Iowa, or Iowa State and Oklahoma State. Usually it was a combo of those 3. And yeah, so I grew up a Notre Dame Irish football fan because I have a third cousin that married Lou Holtz's son. Lou Holtz was the Irish coach back in the 90s. So I've never really gone out and have claimed myself to be a huge Hawkeyes fan. Because I'm not like a Hawkeyes football fan, but I'd be lying through my teeth if I were to say that not all of my favorite wrestlers over the years have been Hawkeyes, because they have been, because that's who I have been exposed to. That's who I've watched. But yeah, I went through some of my favorite Iowa Hawkeyes from back in the day. Some of my favorite Cyclones that I remember watching as a little kid were like Eric Aiken. I think Eric Aiken used to have these battles with, I'm going to say it was Chad Zaputil. I don't remember, but I was a huge fan of Eric Aiken of Iowa State back in the day. Kevin Jackson, I remember watching him a little bit. I like it all. I like all wrestling. I can watch a JV match and have fun. But let's go ahead and get to it. I'll go ahead and do like a little preview type thing, but I really want to just get the ball rolling as far as doing this commentary, because I want to know what I have to tweak and change to set this up properly. First off, let me open up a little, what do you call it? I'm blanking out. A little visual as to some of the guys we're going to be going over. All right, I got that pulled up. Share screen. All right, so 1986. Let me know in the comments how you hear me and everything. Do I sound okay? Do I need to hook up a microphone, see how that works? Especially let me know when I start playing the video. But we're doing Iowa High School State Wrestling Tournament, 1986 and 1991. Those are just 2 random things I picked. Literally, I just went to my YouTube account, clicked on popular, went about halfway down, took 2 weights. That was it. The 2 featured matches are going to be for 1986. It's going to be 2A, and that's a legendary matchup, man, between Tom Brands, who's a junior that year, current coach for the Iowa Hawkeyes, and Chad Zaputil. And the other 2 matches that went on at the same time were Vance Light of Lisbon and Matt McClenahan of Sigourney. And in 3A, gosh, I want to make a point about this guy, actually. Gary Steffensemeier of Fort Madison and Brad Bruhl of Fort Dodge. Oh, that's a big one. Brad Bruhl was also a state champ. He beat Eddie Lee of Council Bluffs, Abraham Lincoln, either the next year or the year after that, in like a battle between those two. With those 2 in the finals that year. They were both seniors, and it was like the battle of the runner-ups. A lot of pressure on the line between those 2. But Gary Steffensemeier, oftentimes, see, I'm from Southeast Iowa, as most of you guys know. Oftentimes people want to bring up or discuss with me who I think the GOAT is who is the greatest Southeast Iowa wrestler of all time. Who's the Southeast Iowa wrestling GOAT? My mind always goes to Jason Payne, Randy Pugh, my brother Justin would be up there, Seth Noble from Columbus Junction, Stephen Holloway. He was a great Adam Drain, Mediapolis. Tons of guys. Jason Payne's big. I think I already said him. Jason Crooks from Fort Madison. But, you know, nobody ever really brings up any of these 80s hammers when we discuss these topics, unless they actually grew up with these guys or grew up watching them. Who, I guess if they grew up or are familiar with them, they mention them. But like usually when it's guys from my age group, generally speaking, they get left out. And in terms of Southeast Iowa greatest wrestler of all time, I would say it'd be, if anybody had a case that's just as good as anybody else's, it'd be Gary Steffensemeier. We've had one 4-timer in Southeast Iowa, and that was Marcel Lopez last year out of New London High School. We had a 3-timer, didn't we? I don't remember. We've had several 2-timers out of Southeast Iowa. My brother Justin wasn't a two-timer. He only won one, but he was placed real high at national events. He won a couple national events, and he was a 3-time finalist. He's up there. Jason Payne, he was competitive on the world stage. He won 2 titles. But Gary Steffensemeier, man, he won 2 titles off the top of my head. Two Iowa high school state titles in 1986, which you'll see on this one. Then 1987, the next year. And then he would go on to UNI, where he was a multi All-American, and I think he even made the finals one year for UNI. So he's not only one of the greatest that Southeast Iowa's ever produced. I mean, if a guy goes on to become a D1 All-American let alone a finalist, you know, like Gary Steffensemeier or another Panther, Sean Stender, and they're definitely in the running for greatest of all time. I don't know. Just my 2 cents. And Gary Steffensemeier is the type of guy that if you look at these other guys that were in his weight range, Tom Brands, Chad Zaputil, Vance, McClenahan, all those guys, he wrestled a lot different than a lot of those hammers did back then. He was your prototypical tall guy with a strong frame with real strong leverage, but was able to leg people and was able to cradle people, do stuff like that to guys before there was really a whole lot of education on those particular series. So, oh man, he was good. Anyways, Gary, if you're watching out there, feel free to call in and do commentary. I'd prefer it if I were to do this on one of his matches to where there's a full match, because it only does a little segment on him. But that's the first one we're going to do. And I'll go over the other one when I start that up. I just kind of want to get to it. So I stop this screen. And I open this one. Okay, I would like to get a full screen in there. All right. I wish my thing would not block me out of it the moment that I went to full screen. That's another issue I'm having. Right when I try hitting full screen, I can't get back to my software. So let's try theater mode. I don't know what the hell that means, but I'm going to try it. All right, let me scroll. See how that looks. Doesn't look any different, does it? All right, well, we'll mess with it as we go along. So I'm going to go ahead and start playing this match right here. Whoop, close out of this and play this one. Tom Brands versus Chad. All right, I just turned the volume down from 100 all the way down to 18. Last week, I turned it down all the way down to like 35, and you still couldn't hear me. So let me know how you're hearing the match and how I sound compared to it. I don't want the two to block each other out. What the hell's going on? It says I'm not even. Oh, here we go. It ain't working, is it?
Tell you more about how he scores points in a bit. Up there in the corner, you see the 1A.
How's that look? How's that
That'll
sound?
be between Vance Light of Lisbon, undefeated, against Matt McClenahan of Sigourney. And at AAA, it'll be Brad Bruhl of Fort Dodge, son of an old teammate of yours.
I'm going to probably start this over
and
again.
Gary Steffensemeier of Fort Madison.
Watch this yet.
Well, here we are at AA.
That Bruhl was not a teammate. He was an athlete that wrestled for me when I was coaching in Northern Iowa. I can't age his father right into being bald as I am.
Well, I'll tell you, it turned around though. A minute ago, I said to CP, 12,500 people here, and show me 3 people which you don't know, and you didn't think you could do it. Takedown for
there we go. That works.
Brands of Sheldon over Chad Zaputil.
All right, so I'm going to start this over.
For
those of you guys that are just tuning in. In the black would be Tom Brands of Sheldon High School in Iowa. On to win, 2 or 3
in here with a young man that's been to this position before, into the
head coach.
Of course, last year,
I hear he's a great guy from somebody that's real close to
Kelber, the young man that we've already featured as being one of the
up there top 2 favorite coaches he's ever had.
And whom we'll see very shortly.
He's wrestling Chad Zaputil,
Brands got to the
my favorite wrestler of all time.
Now get this. First of all, 19-4 win, technical fall over Pleganpool of West Union, and then 16-5, also undefeated Tom Brands.
Also looking
against
at your
Centerville,
comments right now, since I haven't
Zaputil,
gotten a chance to yet.
Who's only lost once in 29 matches this year.
So if you could just let me know how I sound
the referee will be this year's referee of the year,
I
chosen
will
by his colleagues
as we go along. And I'm also going to I've got a couple of real high-tech microphones.
That Terry Brands from Sheldon was the defending champion. This young man, Tom
my
Brands,
5-year-old daughter broke my
man with the stripes down the side of his uniform. Right, was second last year.
She broke that.
105.
So I don't even know if I can set
he's
up my
moved
mic
up
yet,
just like his brother.
Pretty clear, Jeff.
His brother was good on his feet as a state champion. Tom Brands has only had 1 takedown scored against him all year.
Would you guys more about how he scores points in a bit? Up there in the corner, you see the 1A.
And just
That'll
the commentary
be between Vance Light of Lisbon, undefeated, against Matt McClenahan of
takes
Sigourney.
some shine away from the guys that are
And
actually
at AAA,
commenting.
it'll be Brad Bruhl of
My
Fort
personal
Dodge,
hero, Tim Johnson,
son of an old teammate of
and,
yours, I think,
Chuck Brown.
And Gary Steffensemeier.
I don't know, because sometimes they say stuff.
Well, here we are at AA.
If I were to do commentary,
Bruhl was
it'd be like, man, I
teammate.
wish I
He
was
was an
listening
athlete
to
that
them
wrestled for
talking
me when I was
speech.
coaching in Northern
While
Iowa.
they're doing commentary because they bring up
age his father right into the being bald as I am.
Well, I'll tell you, it turned around, though. There we go. I said to CP, 12,500 people here, and show me 3 people which you don't know. And you didn't think you could do it.
I can't get it right.
Takedown for Tom
Andre
Brands
Vanderbilt
over Chad
sounds great so
Zaputil.
far.
Brands in the
And I
dark
wanted
uniform,
to,
Zaputil in the
so
red.
a lot of other comments I'd like to get to, but I wanted to bring him up real quick.
Zaputil's only a sophomore.
He was a 2-time place winner at a
here with a young man that's been to this position before, into the finals
this year. I'm thinking about starting
Brands'
a
only
wrestling
loss was
event this summer, which would be
the young man that we've already featured as being one of the
outdoor
real
event that we'll see maybe on
seniors in the tournament.
And whom
We're
we'll
also
see
going to make it a hybrid.
Tom Brands got to the finals by
music.
scoring. Now get this.
What I really would like to search for is wrestling musicians that are in bands that like to play live a show like this. Anyways, Andre Vanderbilt. Andre Vanderbilt. I love his music. He's a musician.
He knows exactly what he's doing, doesn't he?
He's going to be the first person that I hit up to try and be one of the bands that plays for us at this hypothetical.
In this match we're watching,
event that I've got in mind.
Centerville did lose last year to Tom Brands in this tournament.
Russell Weegley.
Maybe there's a little bit of that.
Man.
I don't know, is that holds very long in your memory, but when somebody's beating you 10-0.
All right, I'm going to get back to some of these comments. By the way,
fairly strong
if you are
reminder
watching,
when he started to get on you
want to see more of it,
good talent.
Stars. It's literally how I'm making my living right now.
And then went right
Person
into a
that
ride.
sends the most
And
stars.
he used the momentum of his body being high to come on down in and jam the arm.
Jeff Baxter, what's up, my friend? Hope you had a great Easter. I did,
The
actually.
first period.
I did have a
Nothing
great
Brand.
Did a lot of,
Green
spent a lot of time with the kids out,
Brands wants to be on
exploring the
his
woods
feet.
at my mom and dad's house. Did a lot of
That's
stuff I
what
haven't
I
done
this year. You get 4 choices. There are the 118 standings, the 218
He's out of
standings,
Florida right now.
and the
Cool. I'm guessing
3A.
he's Al's relation.
Boy, Marshalltown's moved right in.
I'll be back. Lee Foster,
We'll
Rusty
be seeing our
Foster.
first Charles City
Oh,
restaurant
those are
before
just
too
my
long.
bad. Big thanks for the stars, Cover. You're the man.
Brands.
Shout out to
In the
Melissa
dark
Holterhouse. She was the one that sent the most stars last
Centerville.
week. So she got a free t-shirt.
Each man's controlling
Also,
the other man's wrist.
Shout out
And
to
just kind of pushing into them. You hear the referee saying you got to circle.
Ryan Crooks,
They
if you're
just
listening
back
right now, I've got your t-shirt right here. He's the one that won on the subscription section. He's the one that won the little trivia thing that I did where I posted a collage with 4 paces. And whoever gets the 4 paces, who they were first, gets a free t-shirt. This type of stuff I'm going to start doing in the subscription section.
Just did a
because
little
it's the only type
outside
of thing
single,
that
didn't penetrate it deep. Now he's in on one that is deep. They're up near the edge.
Not going very
Oh,
well.
I got away from the
Check into becoming a subscriber, though. It would really help out a lot. I'll always remember you if you do indeed decide to do that. Bill McDonald had was a hammer in this place
17 seconds to go in the second period, 112 pounds. You're watching live on Iowa.
I remember crying after the senior year. When I was a little kid,
The
I was
1986
like a 7 or 8 year old
State
kid. I used to
Championship
get so
Wrestling
emotionally engaged with some of my stuff.
Here, Tom Brands is real good on top. He's
Favorite
just put a lot
wrestlers,
of
if they
pressure on
lost,
young Chad
cry.
Zaputil from
Danny
Centerville.
Sweden beat Ryan
Tight
Cummings
around the
also
waist.
Danny Sweden got a Highland.
After the
Ryan
arm,
Cummings
puts
was
pressure
our
on to just
hometown
knock
hero,
him flat.
3-time state champ.
you.
Time Ryan got headlocked by him. The only time he lost the last 2 or 3 years of high school. Brett like a little baby. Same thing with Chad Zaputil. He wasn't an NCAA champion.
Get one warning, you know, and next time it's a penalty point for your opponent.
The Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, when they traded away Willie McGee.
Easily. Without saying he's got him on his back right here, but
he locked his hand.
I also can't watch the movie Dumbo.
Point
So
for
that's not really
Zaputil. You
saying
can't
much.
lock your hands on your
This
opponent.
guy
when
is
you're on the
incredible.
mat.
He's talking
outside judge saw
James
that
Russell.
also. Saw his
Talking
hand
about
come
here.
across
Talking
to
about
stop that.
Steffensemeier or
Mulder.
Brands or
Okay.
Bill Foster. Hey, go Irish. Notre Dame Irish.
A little tougher match.
Always kind of had me. It's always given me a really easy.
Twins.
It's always given me a really
not
easy
just because the
out, I guess
the
you'd say.
opponent's different, but
When
it's as
covering
they start to get
wrestling,
bigger.
people
You know,
try
there's
telling me that I'm
a
biased
little
for a
bit
certain
as these athletes
club.
get toward 119,
I try really
126,
hard not to be.
you start to find more of them.
But when obviously
He's got the
people
wrist tied up really tight.
would associate me with the Iowa Hawkeyes.
It's hard for him to turn him for the position he's in.
I got Iowa Hawkeye gear like stuff around my house. But it's just been really easy to say over the years. I'm an Notre Dame
Only
Irish fan. They
17
don't have
seconds
wrestling.
remain in the second period. It's 4-1.
They did have wrestling. Man, be pretty
Interested
sweet.
to know that
Just
it's
to use her.
the single A division. Light Lisbon leads his opponent 6-3. 9-3 now. And a triple A in the fourth.
So how am I sounding right now?
The score there
Can
is
you hear the
13-5
match
in favor of
video?
Steffensemeier of Fort Madison.
That Hoover gets pretty jumbled when
Those
you're
are in the
talking.
last period as well.
Les Park, it's difficult to hear you.
There's no
Really?
change there, so it still remains
Just
4-1
here.
going into the last period. Tom Brands and Sheldon leading.
All right, now I've got it muted.
Chad Zaputil.
Can you hear me now?
1 point so far.
I'm wondering
His
if the
opponent
entire
locked in.
video stream puts my voice out of lag automatically.
Back on the feet again.
Let me know. I think I'm going to have to resort. I think I'm going to have to get my microphone
Single
for
leg
this.
turns it quickly into 2 points. 6-1.
But the
Turn
yardage
the match
that
down
Walker
or
right
you
in on
Sorry,
top, it's
sorry, I
not,
cannot understand.
surprising to me if he wouldn't
All right, can you hear me
move
now?
off,
Can you hear
just
me?
give him
Can you
a
hear me
point, start to just wrestle him on his feet.
now?
Because the man
South
for
Park, somebody came
Centerville,
up.
Chad
We had
Zaputil,
an
is staying
episode where
awful low,
somebody was
keeping the
dressed
hips
as
down low.
Can you hear me
Really
now,
just kind
guy?
of blocking him out. It's hard for him to
Halloween
go.
episode.
This time the
I feel
warning
like
goes
that guy
against
right
Zaputil. So neither
Do I
one of
know
them can
who
afford to
Tom
do
and
that.
Chad beat in the semi?
Yeah, they both been one for stalling.
I don't. I can find out real easy. Let me look at it real quick.
So he's going to have to be effective here, something, or get called. Now, the bondman really isn't
Jeff
making any
McGinnis
moves.
watching
He's
right
trying
now.
to grind
Really
him
cool
into
to get him
that
to
hip tilt
commentary
position. He's got the arm tight.
112 pounders. If that's the case, I'd rather get him to do.
Real difficult as long as that man on the bottom just keeps
freshman
his
year,
hips basically flat to the mat.
He's the featured match.
We're in the last minute.
Jeff McGinnis,
the Brands brothers.
Very nice.
Let him out on
has
that
a very nice
sit-out,
case for the greatest of all time high school wrestler from out of Iowa.
Sheldon, trying to make it.
And further yet, there's really not a case against him. That argument can go on.
Terry Brands already won a championship.
But if somebody's to say that Jeff McGinnis
leads by 4
not
with about a half a minute to go.
I think that's
in his quest for a championship at 112.
You can't make a case against him.
Well, Brands hits that low level attack. Zane back in on the leg again.
The guy was
with
just
that kind of
in
attack, even
pristine
losing a
positioning
takedown in a scramble, still won't get hurt. But he gained the takedown there, so he's now ahead 8-2.
Jeff McGinnis
and pretty much has the match sewed up.
He's had 4 takedowns, all of them single leg.
Jeff McGinnis and like break a yellow or something.
He had in control, fairly
in
control most of the match.
I think McGinnis and Dan Knight, Mark Schwab, Tim Krieger, those guys.
It's going to end right there.
It's just hard to.
Score 8-2.
You watch them wrestle, man, in that era where everything was so physical.
Sheldon High School.
It's fun to watch. Some of the funnest wrestling ever.
Two such
from the 80s and 90s, in my opinion. In any decade, really, you can find them.
That's right. They're only juniors.
2000s. Oh my God, you can't really beat Siebel and Dave Warshall and Joe Slayton, all those guys. Morningstar. They were fun. I don't have a favorite decade necessarily. I think every decade produces
small school class.
So it looks like Tom Brady just won his finals match over Zaputil. I haven't even tuned in yet, really.
Class 1A 100.
Big night for him. Let's go to Dean Board.
Turn the volume back up. I might actually go through this again.
Well, Doug, you and Chuck talked about Lisbon.
I don't think I watched one
they
second.
caught another champion here at 112 a few minutes ago.
All right, I'm going to have this down to 4.
Who last year was 4th at 105 is the new champion at 112 pounds. The decision, Matt McClenahan of Sigourney, 9-4.
You guys hear me?
In control all the way. 2 points in the first period, and
probably
3 in the second.
Vance White right there from Lisbon. He won his second. He won 3 titles. Nice.
Okay, Doug, there you see the champion at 112 pounds was young Steffensemeier. Gary Steffensemeier, who used a total of 7 near-ball tilts to win his match impressively over Brad Bruhl of Fort Dodge, 17-5. And a happy lad there is greeted by Coach Vic Pickford of Fort Madison. He's been here 3 times. This year he takes home the gold. Back to you, Doug.
Wrestling a whole lot, Gary,
119
in those days. He was a little bit ahead of his time. His son, Harlan Steffensemeier, won state for Fort Madison
Class
in 2008 at 3A 152.
Those are the top 6 place winners on the stand.
Fort Dodge in the finals. Kind of crazy that they both beat Fort Dodge guys in their state finals matches. Well, Gary won.
6th place, Steve Phillips, Ida Grove.
The boom guy named Tam Ho.
5th place, Steve Toma, Gilbertville, Don Bosco.
Right. How you guys hearing me?
4th place, Bill Burian, Iowa City, Regina. 3rd place, Keith Van Beek, Rock Rapids, Central Line.
And Matt McClenahan is 2nd.
2nd place, Matt McClenahan, Sigourney. And the 1A 112-pound champion from Lisbon, Vance White.
I appreciate that, yes.
Second champion
was a state runner-up for Montezuma.
They are already
1A 160.
Team champions.
Appreciate it,
in the Class A division.
Go ahead, Lisbon.
We have a pretty good fight going at AAA we'll tell you about here in just a minute. Coming up on the stand now are the 112-pound place winners in the AA division.
112-pound awards. Coach Galen Nelson of Sheldon.
No, I don't know.
6th place, Travis Bruce, Report City.
To be honest with you,
5th place, Darren Snyder, New Hampton.
I haven't been wanting to figure it out at all.
4th place, Todd Harper, Glenwood. 3rd place.
Okay, I'm gonna have to adjust some lighting. I'm gonna use my lighting.
2nd place, Chad Zaputil, Centerville. And the 2A 112-pound champion from Sheldon, Tom Brands.
He looks a lot like the last guy that won.
He sure does, doesn't he? Well, that's something their parents have had to work out, I'm sure, over the years.
Well, they certainly are good wrestlers, and they
Let me know
a lot of credit for being back-to-back champions.
You guys hear me better?
Brands from Sheldon.
Or is it still the
now
same?
We're at 112 pounds for the AAA division.
On awards, Coach Mike Pickford of Fort Madison.
Audio.
6th place, Tom Ho Boone. 5th place, Todd Springer, Waterloo Central.
Maybe you hear me better
4th
if I do.
Place, Sean
Vault on that.
Ames. Third place, Dan Fiala with West Des Moines Dowling.
All right, so let me turn.
Second
video
place,
filter
Brad
up.
Bruhl,
Yeah, I muted it.
the 3A 112-pound champion from Fort Madison, Gary Steffensemeier.
The champion at AAA, proud young man from Fort Madison. Let's get a floor report from Dick Trotter.
Out.
119.
I do not like that.
Oh, what an effort a little bit. What an effort. And almost got put in his back right at the very end.
I was surprised I had no idea that happened.
Get put on his back. And so the winner is Marino.
Oh.
Trying to find every way he can to score.
Wow.
And you know, he gave the 4 points.
He would have just
Actually,
locked
almost
that up.
Fine.
not executing that body lock, and he wants it back.
Wow. He's on top, so the most not
I think he's going to need to make a decision here.
he was going to try to go
Cut him down.
but
Maybe execute it.
yeah. Holy
4 or
cow.
5 point move.
You type of stuff you see, and you see a
Reach back.
3-time All-American,
Pulling out.
2-time
I'll tell you.
in the NAIA
Doing
champ,
the
like
international start.
D1 for the Hawkeyes. Like,
Okay, it's 5-2. He's down 5-1. He's down by 4. But he has less than half a minute to do something big. And
so there's the take this. No,
and he was able to slip around.
All right, how does this sound?
Defending himself against
I don't-
the upper
I don't
body
think it's gonna
throw.
let me use the
Euchre by
microphone
dropping
quite
down
yet.
for a single and getting 3 points.
You guys still hear me?
7-1.
How's it
10
sounding
seconds
now?
to go.
I'm just going to tweak the settings a little bit.
There is the stalling call.
Okay, so that's what makes it a 5-point.
It does brings the match
So
only
he's down by
to a
5. So if you would have gotten a 5,
And here, Tom Brands is real good on top. You see him just put a lot of pressure on young
Do I
Chad
still sound the same as I did?
Centerville. Tight around the waist. You know,
Turn the
after
match
arms,
down.
puts pressure on him to just knock
All
him
right, I'm just going
flat.
to mute the match.
When he warned you got to go for a ball. You're hit righty. Let's
Got
go.
the match
Flaky
turned
is-
down. Can you hear me with
Carlos
this?
Flaky warned
I doubt
Tom
it.
Brands.
Stalled it.
for being too cautious on top.
I might even have to resort to
Okay,
the
set there.
the
Move
point
on.
where I
Get
get one
one
of those
warning, you know,
goofy
and-
ass
Next time, it's a penalty point for your
headsets
opponent.
with a microphone
It
attached. I've got
it
2
wouldn't
of them.
surprise me to see him if he
And
can't.
I need to
hit
use
them
them because I
easily.
keep getting out of bed and
He's got
stepping
him
on
on
it,
his
almost
back right
breaking
here,
it.
but he locked his
That, and I need to organize my house a little better. That's a loss. That's a loss.
You can't lock your hands
Your
on
voice is
opponent
in
when
the
you're on
background,
the
just
mat.
trying to help you.
This
Oh,
outside
I
judge
was
saw
already.
that also. So
All right, I got the match muted.
Stop that.
Can you hear me?
move.
Okay.
That's 4-1. A little tougher match for this
There's another.
member of the Brands twins.
It starts to get tougher, not just because the opponent's different, but it's as they start to get bigger. You know, there's a little bit as these athletes get toward 119, 126, you start to find more of them. They've got the wrist tied up really tight. It's hard for him to turn him from the position
Can you
he's
hear me
in.
better right now?
Down there.
Here, I'm going to try these.
Out of bounds. Only 17 seconds remain in the second period. It's 4-1.
Okay, set. Move
Be
on.
interested to know that it's the single A division. Light of Lisbon leads his opponent 6-3. 9-3 now.
All right, anybody still there watching?
Fort Madison match.
Trust me, I understand if you're not.
13-5 in favor of Steffensemeier and Fort Madison. And those are in the last period as well.
Right there.
There's no change there, so it still remains 4-1 going into the last period.
Bruhl.
Tom Brands and Sheldon leading.
That's Chad Zaputil at Centerville. He's had 1 point so far, and it was when his opponent locked hands.
Hey, move her up here.
All right. I've been putting this
Back on
thing
the
off
feet
for a
again.
long time.
They
Just
both like it up.
get distracted every time I see myself.
The single
Okay,
leg
this
turns it
thing is
quickly
ready
into
to
2
go.
points. 6-1.
Audio.
But he already has been warned for riding on
All right.
top. It's not surprising to me if he wouldn't move off, just give him a point, start to just wrestle him on his feet. Because the man from Centerville, Chad Zaputil, is staying awful low, keeping the hips down low, really just kind of blocking him out. It's hard for him to go.
This time the warning goes against Zaputil. So neither one of them can afford to sit
Move it
back.
now. Both
Yeah,
of
they've
them
both been
let's
warned
go.
for stalling.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me? How's this
He's
sound?
going to have to be effective here. Something or get called. Now, the bondman really isn't making any moves, so he's trying to grind him into that hip tilt position. He's got the arm tight.
Nope, this would be the
headset. Him to tip his back. Real difficult as long as that man on the bottom just keeps his hips basically flat to the mat. We're in the last minute. The Brands brothers, we just intentionally let him out on that little shot.
All right, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Or can you not hear me?
Brands brothers of Sheldon trying to make it a family.
You can hear me better now?
Fortune night tonight. Terry Brands already
better,
won
but match is overpowering.
Tom Brands leads by 4 with about a half a minute to go.
Okay, so when I mute it, does it bring my voice up?
At 112.
Or does it still sound the same kind of?
Low level attack. You see him back in on the leg again.
I might need
with that kind of attack, even losing the takedown in a scramble, he still won't get hurt, but he gained the
I might just have to do
there,
these
so
on
now
mute. I'd love to listen to Tim Johnson and Doug Brown. Jim Gibbons,
he's
when
had
he starts
4 takedowns, all on that single leg.
Keep working.
Hello. Does it sound like I'm talking through the microphone, or does it still sound as it did before I put these silly things on? Mark Wilker's much better. Cool. Wish I knew what it sounded like.
It's going to end right there.
Just an enhanced
Score
version.
8-2. State champion is Tom Brands.
How geeky it sounds already, I'm sure.
School. His coach Galen Nelson has to be pleased to have 2 such talented and committed.
All right. I want to thank all of you guys for staying patient with me throughout all this.
17-year-old juniors from Sheldon.
Learning a lot of this new stuff hasn't always been
we're going to go down to the other end of the arena now for the award.
It's fun thing to go through, but you guys have helped me out a lot as far as helping me connect the loose ends.
Small school class.
I applaud you guys for that. Wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff if it wasn't following that I have.
Presenting the Class 1A 110.
Thank you very much.
Big night for him. Let's go to Dean Board.
All right, it says lower the match, but I've got the match on mute
Doug,
right
you
now.
and Chuck talking about
Hopefully
Lisbon.
the other one's not going. That one's not going.
They crowned another champion here at 112 a few minutes ago.
Is this one?
Vance Light.
Yeah, mute. It wasn't on mute. All right. How am I sounding now? Can you hear me now? I wish I could hear myself through my speakers right now, but I can't. I can worry about that a different day, I'm sure. Okay, mute now. Okay. I'm going to mute it twice. Okay, there we go. All right, so I am 100% sure that I am muted with the YouTube right now. So, all right, so you guys can hear my voice good now. But when I turn this thing up, that's when you all of a sudden cannot hear me, right? I've got it on 4 out of 100, the volume for the YouTube channel right now. 4. Is it still overpowering me? How's it sound? This is 4. Imagine if I would try doing these when it's set to 100. You can't hear me. Okay, so right when I turn the volume on, or right when I turn the match on with the, right when I turn the audio on the match on YouTube, that's when it cuts my voice out. No match voice. Can you still hear me though? Try raising the volume a little bit. I've got it on 44 now. God, I can't hear it either. What's going on? Oh, I see. I have to. All right. How does this sound? Does it sound any better? They're doing awards right now. Tom Brands is on the top of the podium. All right, how's this sound? Any better? I can't even hear the match audio myself right now. I can't even hear it.
It does, doesn't it?
All right. How does this sound?
Well, that's something their parents have had to work out, I'm sure, over the years.
I hear it in my speakers now.
Well,
I can't hear my microphone at all.
And they deserve a lot of credit for being back-to-back champions.
The Brands from Sheldon. Now we're at 112 pounds for the AAA division.
On the awards, Coach Mick Pickford of Fort Madison.
Took a minute video and set it up.
6th place, Tom Ho Boone.
Oh, thanks, Kelby.
5th place, Todd Springer, Waterloo Central.
Mark Folker says it sounds good
4th
now.
place, Sean Watt Ames.
Really? All right, let me take it down to 20.
Dan Fiala with Des Moines, West Des Moines.
Man, so that's
Valley.
frustrating. So, like, I
2nd
turned it up
place,
to 44.
Bruhl, Fort Dodge.
It sounded really good for Mark Folker,
champion from Fort Madison,
but it blocks me out for others.
The champion.
All right, how am I sounding now?
Proud young
Go
man
back
from
on this a
Fort
little bit.
Madison. Let's get a floor report.
Been penetrated deep, and now he's in on one that is deep.
It's the same match over and over again, trying to get this right. Sounds good too. Sounds good now. Mark Folker says.
Takedown.
West Bargian, too much. I turned it up too much.
4-0.
I took it back down to about 20.
He gave him a 2. A minute 17 seconds to go in the second period. 112
And my viewers
pounds.
are all winding
You're
down.
watching live on
You guys missed the first part of this. It's going to sound like kind of an odd request, but I'm trying to get the 600,000 total minutes viewed. That'll qualify me.
Real good on
I'm going to talk about this
when the match is
going.
on young Chad Zaputil from Centerville.
Sounds
Tight
good
around
now.
the waist. You know, after the arm, puts
I'm
pressure
gonna
on
mute
you,
it
just knock him
anyways.
flat.
Okay. So this is not going very smooth so far, but on the bright side, I will learn from this and move on to the next. Hopefully I can get all this stuff fixed and ready to go to where I have a pristine podcast going after tonight. Pretty soon I'm going to get to the 1991 112 pounders. I'd love to get Ike Light or Jeff McGinnis or somebody to call in and do a commentary, or anybody that knows these guys while we watch those ones. I know Ike Light's busy. Jeff's watching right now. I don't know if he's available to comment, but we need to get him on here eventually. And when we do, it's going to be one of those deals where I promote it and publicize it, because I think a lot of people would love to tune in to listen to anything that either of those guys, Ike Light, Jeff McGinnis, that either of those guys would come in and say on one of these things. So, I didn't mean to hit pause. Just
Warn you, you got to go for a ball. You hit right in. Let's go.
Plague is.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of that.
Tom Brands.
We'll go to the 1991. So Tom Brands beat Chad Zaputil in 1986 at 2A 112. I think that was his first and only high school. No, that was his second. That was his second Iowa high school state wrestling title.
He's got him on his back right here, but he lost
and this was his junior year. I think the year before he beat a Gazaway out of Eagle Grove. Maybe that was Terry. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
saw his hand come across to stop that move.
Terry would wrestle Chad Zaputil in the finals the next year in 1987 at 2A 119. And Terry was going for his third state title. Chad was just going for his first at the time. Chad ended up beating Terry Brands in overtime.
The opponent's different,
which prevented Terry Brands from becoming a three-time state champion. So not only do the two Brands brothers, Terry and Tom, have history with Chad Zaputil from the Iowa Hawkeye League, they also go back to having battles in high school when the stakes were as high as the Iowa High School State Finals. Zaputil wrestled two different Brandses in the state finals. Then, his senior year, when Zaputil won his second title, he beat Kent Stryker in the finals. Starmont Strawberry Point. Stryker was a three-time state champion. That was the only year that he didn't win state, was when he got beat by Zaputil. That was an overtime match as well. And Stryker was actually winning that match 5-2 with like 19 seconds left. Zaputil pulled it off. That's how close Kent Stryker was to being a four-time state champion.
There's no change there, so it still remains 4-1 going into the last period.
Him and
Tom Brands from Sheldon leading.
Jason Kelber was a few seconds away from being a four-time state champ. Adam Allard from West Sioux was real close. Robert Avila from Lisbon and IFC West were close, as we know. Goodness, it's just crazy to think of how close some of these guys were winning more titles. Any of you guys would like to listen to, actually I'll do that next time. I'd like to do song reviews and listen to music with you guys, but I would rather do it when I know that the audio is matching up to where we can actually hear each other.
Because the
How am I
man
sounding
from
right now?
Centerville, Chad Zaputil, is staying awful low, keeping the hips down low.
West Bargian.
Really just
You're going to see some more West Bargian clips coming up, by the way.
This time the warning goes against Zaputil.
I posted his finals match
Neither
against
one of them can afford to sit back.
Boret from 1989 1A 160. Posted that not too long ago. Mana. I think Warrette this day is the only state champ to come from there. That's where Ashton Kutcher wrestled.
Now, the Bond really isn't making any moves, so he's trying to grind him into that hip tilt position. He's got the arm tight.
Actor, Hollywood actor, and
his back.
TV show actor out of
Real
that 70s
difficult
show.
as long as that man on the bottom just keeps his hips
Crowd
basically flat to the mat.
They wrestled.
We're in the last minute.
Sounds good. The match is loud.
Brothers.
Man, I have the match on
intentionally
mute.
let him out on that little sit out and just let him go. Makes it 6-2. The Brands
You guys
brothers
still
and
hear the
Sheldon
match
trying
right
to
now?
make it a family
All right, let's see if Guinness has gotten back.
fortune night tonight. Terry Brands already won a championship at 105. Tom Brands leads by 4 with about a half a minute to go in his quest for a championship at 112. The Brands hits that low-level attack. You see him back in on the leg again. And with that kind of attack, even losing a takedown in a scramble, he still won't get hurt, but he gained the takedown there. So
all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove this
and pretty much has the match
get some of my
up.
happy birthday shout outs.
He's had 4
shout out to
takedowns,
Zane
all of them
Mulder,
at single leg.
a few other guys, and then we'll get to our next one. So how are you guys hearing me now that I don't have? God, I hate the lighting. It's gonna drive me nuts. I need to get my splitter back. You'd think that I'd be able to keep a splitter at my house and not have to worry about my 5-year-old tearing it apart. Because what would a 5-year-old find interesting in a splitter? I don't get it. But my mom and dad say that my brother and I were the same way. So apparently. All right, sound good, but match is louder. All right. Oh, I need to just X out of this one. All right. So we're going to watch the 1991 112 matches here pretty soon. I'll probably just have it on mute until I get this shit figured out. Sorry for the language there. I'm a firm believer that it's not the word itself you should worry about, but the context. So sometimes I don't even make an effort to watch it. Okay. So let's go ahead and share the screen for. No, I don't even have it pulled up. How about that? This right here. All right. So can you guys all see that? Can you guys all see Tom Brands and Ike Light, Jason Nuri from Beckman, Gary Steffensemeier? I made Tom Brands and Ike Light the big ones in this one because they were the featured match winners. So wasn't trying to imply anything with the way I sorted these. All right. So can you hear me loud and clear? Thanks. Hey, John McLaughlin. Talked to him a few times. Hope all is well, dude. My mother was a McLaughlin, and somewhere along the lines, I've looked at the lineage several times, but there's been several McLaughlins that have done well in wrestling in the Midwest throughout the years, and I'm related to pretty much all of them. Gary McLaughlin was a state champ. That's my second cousin. He was a state champ for Hampton Dumont. Related to Nick and Tucker Weber from Clear Lake through the McLaughlins. Very cool. Jordan McLaughlin, Chase McLaughlin, Lisbon. All right, so everything's good. You guys can all see this. All right, let me try. If I do that, I go, okay, so I go away if I do that. You guys, I don't like that. I don't like looking at my big mug. And if you guys do, then there's something wrong with you. The pin doctor has diagnosed you with something wrong. All right, so we're here. Let's go ahead and go forward to the next thing I was going to talk about. Oh, I posted this a little while ago. I've seen some really, really stacked AAU state wrestling youth podiums over the last 2 or 3 years that I've been doing this. And while I've probably seen a few here and there that are arguably just as loaded as this one, I can't say that I've seen one that's more stacked than this one. The AAU champ on this one is Ryan Morningstar of Lisbon. He'd go on to place 4th and then first for Lisbon High School. Second place is, oh gosh, is that Scott Hazen or is that, I'm having a major brain fart right now. Second place, I believe, is Scott Hazen, right? And he was a 1 or 2 time state champ out of Underwood. I don't know. Let me check my phone. Because I'm a cheater. Anyways, third place is Moza Fay. Moza would go on to wrestle for Anamosa High School, where he placed 4th, 5th, 1st. He's known by a lot of people in my area anyways as almost synonymous with my brother Justin. If you talk about one, you usually talk about the other, because those two met 6 or 7 times in their careers, and in matches where the stakes were always high. Even in like one year they met in the AAU state semifinals. The year before this, actually, and then in high school they met in the quarterfinals 2 years in a row, and they split. And it was not necessarily a friendly rivalry back in those days, because Justin had a certain family member that would like to remain anonymous, that used to run his mouth on message boards. Sorry, Moza. Tons of respect for you, bud. And so I made things worse. That was back when the forums were on Iowa Preps. But let it be known, if anybody's ever had the idea that we didn't respect Moza Fay, you got the wrong idea. It was basically just competition and nerves about those two meeting up every damn year. Anyways, 4th place is Justin Hansen of Humboldt, isn't it? He would go on to be a 4-time finalist, 2 or 3-time state champ. I think 2. He's in the Hall of Fame. 5th place, that's Mitch Norton. He won a state title or 2 for Clarksville, right? No. Nashville Plainfield. 6th place is Ryan Borman out of Tipton. He won a state title in high school in 2004 or 5, I think. 2005 as a junior. 7th place, this guy didn't win a state title. He didn't place at state, but he made it to state for Dubuque Hempstead, and he would go on to become a real successful comedian at the University of Iowa. He was the guy that did the I don't remember what you call that comedy club in Iowa City. I want to say it was the Funny Bone or something like that, or the Pickle Bone. I don't know. I know that I'm off. I know that's not what it was called, but I want to say that he became so active there that he was manager, or like the head guy, he was always the premier act when he was in college, and he did so well that he would go on to pursue comedy on both coasts. And I want to say he moved to California before New York, but I don't remember. But he was so successful in the field of comedy that he was a cast member on Saturday Night Live. And on his after he found out that he was fired as a cast member from SNL, I'll never forget, he left a tweet that said, "Fired from New York. It's Saturday night." I love Brooks. It's one of my favorite people. That family, the Whelan family, is one of my all-time favorite wrestling families. First time I ever saw Brooks was a couple years before this year that we're looking at. He wrestled Ryan Morningstar in the AAU finals that year. I remember that because I wrestled his brother Brett for 3rd and 4th at state that year. I think I wrestled him in the console semis. I wrestled Brett at state twice, and they were both in pretty big matches. And I remember when I was talking to him after the fact, he was really nervous when he was watching his brother wrestle Ryan Morningstar. This is one of those things that I never forgot. A lot of people say, "How do you remember all this stuff about wrestling? How do you remember it?" It always perplexes me, because I kind of look back at him thinking, my first thought is always, how can you forget? It's wrestling. All right, so let's go to the next one. Actually, 8th place was Hollingshead, Marcus Hollingshead. Harlingshead or Hollingshed? I think it's Hollingshed, actually. He got 2nd at state in high school. He got beat by Brad Lauer from Burlington in the state finals. And his little brothers, Brett Sams and Drew Sams, would do really good at state do really good for Oskaloosa high school wrestling. Drew Sams made it at least 3 or 4 times. I think placed once. Further yet, though, Drew Sams was an NAIA All-American for Graceland. So, and that's Marcus's little brother. He's the 8th place guy you see there, Marcus Hollingshed. And the next one is, all right. To start, I want to apologize to everybody in D3 that had your national tournament last week or last month and came home to the sound of, I don't know how the coverage was from other outlets, but I know that from me, the D3 tournament was essentially crickets. crickets chirping. I think I posted just 1 or 2 things, and then I just kind of got sidetracked. I didn't even know that Zane Mulder won D3 Nationals at 174 for Wartburg last month. I didn't even know that until today. And this is a kid that goes back with my brother Brennan to where, like, all the way back to 2nd grade, like 2006, 2007 range. And I know firsthand, because I can just remember it, how close this kid has been to winning over the years. It seems like every year he would place either 3rd or 2nd at state, or nationals for that matter. Seemed like most years, more often than not, he would come close to winning the big one, whether it's nationals or state, but not quite there. And he would get beat just one time, meaning he'd place 2nd or 3rd, one time at most of the state tournaments he competed in. And the thing that separated him from being a multi-state champion was just a couple of points. I know he got beat pretty bad in the national finals last year or the year before by Western Dubuque guy that won it last year, Braden Burt. I want to say that Braden Burt had a wide gap as far as the match score between him and Zane when they met up. But I mean, get this. When Zane was a 6th grader, he got 2nd at state to Gable C. Perda. He's in 7th grade, he got 2nd to Zach Barnes. When he's in 8th grade, he got 2nd to Nelson Brands. When he's in 9th grade, he got 5th. When he was in 10th grade, he got 3rd. Can't remember who beat him, whether it was, let's say it was Grant Stotts or it wasn't Stotts that beat him. I don't remember, but he got 3rd. As a junior, I want to say he got 5th. And then as a senior at 3A 160, he got 3rd again. And then before this year, he placed 4th and 2nd at D3 Nationals. So imagine how good it feels to be Zane Mulder right now. All those years where he's just been this freaking close to winning the big one. And what I mean by the big one is the postseason big tournament for each team each year. I mean, ever since he was a little kid, he was just this close. And it was the same way with my brother Brennan, who grew up wrestling this guy forever. But at the same time, Brennan won several grade school state titles. I mean, in several freestyle state titles. And I think Zane actually did too. Zane won freestyle state. I don't know. In a way, we kind of know how these people feel, how the Mulder family feels right now, because when Brennan won his first NAIA title 3 years ago for Graceland as a sophomore, it was just like a huge weight had been lifted off. It's like, wow, he's going to finish his career as not being one of these so close type guys that just never got it done. And then he won another one. So I can't imagine how Zane was feeling, knowing that he's almost at the end of his career, maybe a year or two. I don't know if he's got next year left or not, but this is either his last year or next year is. He's getting close to the end and still was just this close, even at the college level, this close to being a champion, and just still hadn't done it. And I couldn't be any happier for the Mulder family. High altitude, Chad Tunick, it had a lot to do with his success. Big props to all you guys. Mulder was a standout in high school for Dallas Center City Grimes, for those of you who are wondering. Anyways, I wanted to give some props to him. Happy birthday shout outs. Some nice guys here. Slade Cifuentes was a 2-time state champion out of Lake Mills. Went on to wrestle at Loras College. Great guy. Tyler Fubert was a 3-time placer. He placed twice for Montezuma, I believe, and then won a state title for Eddyville, Blakesburg, Fremont. And Colton Moore was a 2-time placer for West Burlington, Notre Dame. This is a kid that was in our club, and I've known him personally for a long time, know his family. His dad actually got my truck out of a dirt. I was stuck so bad on this dirt road one time when I was in high school, and my buddy knew his dad had his dad's cell phone. This is when cell phones more or less first came out. He was one of the few numbers that my buddy had at the time. He just called him like, I wonder if this guy would help us out. You know, I dated his, my buddy actually dated Colton's sister. I think he was dating her at the time. Man, he dropped everything he was doing, drove about 10 miles to where we were at, and pulled us out of that muddy dirt road. So I always rooted for Colton Moore. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday to him. On to the next. Oh, that was it. All right. Let me get to some comments real quick before we get into 1991. Hear you loud and cool. All right. Thanks to everybody who commented me that's trying to get me on track for what I've got going with my sound settings and everything. Hopefully future podcasts will be a lot more watchable when I get this all set up. I definitely need to get a splitter because I'm not going to do any more of these where the lighting's like this. It shows my fat face the way it is. And also another thing, I hate that damn ceiling fan. When I was redoing these ceiling tiles, I got in a big argument with my dad. I'm like, dude, let's just pitch the ceiling fan. And he's like, no, you gotta have a ceiling fan. I'm like, it's gonna be right behind me in my podcast. He's like, no, gotta have it. Like, and long story short, I wish I'd have stuck to my guns on that. But he's my dad. And generally speaking, his wisdom and advice is usually spot on. But on this one, it's really annoying. Okay. So for those of you guys tuning in, whoever sends the most stars gets a free Pin Doctors t-shirt. And I'm going to put another quiz or trivia type thing in the subscription section. So if you guys sign up and subscribe, you can partake in all that fun stuff. The subscription section, since I started monetizing this thing, has been what I've kind of picked up is what would become what will likely become a sizable portion of what I make off this thing, monetization wise. And holy cow, is it frustrating. And I don't blame people for not wanting to subscribe, because it's like, why would you subscribe to something that is generally free everywhere else? So I think the only way I'd be able to make the subscription section to work to where people can get something out of it is if I break down and end up doing rankings and stuff like that I don't like to do. But if I'm going to earn money, not everybody, in fact, a very select percentage of people in this world ever makes money by doing something they want to do. So I don't know. Expect some trivia, expect maybe some rankings to come in the future in the subscription section, if that's the only thing that people are willing to pay for. Essentially, what I think they set that thing up for is it's like become a supporter /pindocs.com or something is the link they have it. I think they're trying to set that up in a way to where it's almost like what do they call those? What do they call those things that people post? Starts with a P, but people sign up for it to support content providers. They call it a Stalemates had one. Zach Bogle from Stalemates. They had a blah 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 account. Anyways, basically it's just like a monthly fee people pay just to support people that they like. And it's like, but I would feel bad if people were paying $5 a month to sign up for subscriber benefits and I just don't do anything with it. Like, oh, well, thank you for supporting me. I'll try and figure that out. It's taken me months to get this all sorted out, but I'll get there. I swear. John McLaughlin, it's in the blood. Dude, I agree, man. People who know my brothers and I, and they usually know my dad. They would assume that the Swafford name is a wrestling name that we get our wrestling from my dad's side. Which actually the Swaffords were all standout basketball players until my dad and his two brothers switched from basketball to wrestling when they were in junior high. They got off to a late start in wrestling, and they were the first generations to ever try it. And my grandpa Swafford wasn't even able to warm up to wrestling at first because he was so upset that he wasn't going to be watching his sons play basketball. The McLaughlin side, though, I mean, there's Gary McLaughlin, there's Jordan McLaughlin. There's a runner-up from Lisbon that I'm distantly related to named Chase McLaughlin. I doubt he even knows that we're related. There's Nick Weber. There's Tucker Weber. Tons of hardware on the McLaughlin side of my family. Pretty cool. I'm going to probably start a series in the near future where we discuss wrestling cousins across the state that you had no idea were related to each other. I think that would be pretty cool. Problem is, there's only so much time in the day. Jeff McGinnis, Praetorian. Hey, we're about ready to turn his finals match on. So hopefully I can get him to call in. That'd be pretty sweet. There are some huge Jeff McGinnis fans out there in the state of Iowa. I'm one of them. My brother's one of them. I know he's watching. Love to hear from Jeff McGinnis. Even if we got him on tonight, I'll publicize and promote the hell out of a future podcast that we can have him a guest for. I wish I would have tried getting a hold of him earlier than 8 o'clock. All right, so let's get to his finals match. I'm going to give him one more try to see if he'd like to chime in. Hey, Jeff. All right. Okay. It's not going to be Jeff McGinnis tonight, but we're going to try and get him in the future. But thank you, Jeff, for watching. We're going to get to the 1991 112 finals. And the featured match is Ike Light versus Jamie Cochran. Ike Light of Lisbon, Jamie Cochran of Moravia. The interesting thing here is Jamie Cochran, his son Briar Cochran, won a state title for Moravia in 2017. I want to say it was 1A 132 or 1A 138. The guy he beat in the finals was Chase McLaughlin, who I just talked about, and he's from Lisbon. So Lisbon and Moravia in the finals, two different instances from just from Cochran brothers, or Cochran father and son. So I'm going to go ahead and present that. And share. And to any of you out there who would like to provide commentary with me to this, I would, not only do I welcome it, but I would appreciate it. So I'm going to post the link. If any of you guys have any interest in doing that, then click on this link and I'll go ahead and I'll click on your little box and you can talk wrestling with me, or we can both comment on what we're watching. Here's the link right here in the comments. All right. For real, anybody who wants to comment on this, you don't have to be some world beater. You don't even have to know anything about wrestling for all I care. I can talk wrestling with anybody. I can watch any level of wrestling with anybody. And I can have a fun time with it. So don't feel as if you have to meet a certain criteria to be granted a valid wrestling opinion, because I don't think that way. So this one has got Jamie Cochran versus Ike Light, as we said. And there's Jason Nuri of Dyersville Beckman versus Dave Morgan of New Hampton. One time I asked Dave Morgan to do a Remember the Wrestler, or an article of some sort. I think it was a Remember the Wrestler article. And I was corresponding with him on email, I think. And it took me 5 or 6 emails to realize that I wasn't talking to the Eagle Grove Dave Morgan, that I was talking to the New Hampton one. Some total badasses with the same name. Okay. And Jeff McGinnis versus, what was Matheson's first name? Was it Shane, I believe? No, Matt, right? Matt Matheson. Okay.
Class for the first 4 weights, we have undefeated Ike Light, who's a defending champion, although he's only a sophomore, from Lisbon, against Jamie Cochran of Moravia.
How everything looks.
At 112 pounds.
Call in if you'd like to.
Well, I was just going to say, lots of what's happening also around here, our communities getting together and going together and consolidating. But Paul Wilkerson is actually like an orphan being adopted. He goes to Winfield High School. He wrestled on the Morning Sun team last year, but Wapello is the team. Wapello brought in Winfield and Morning Sun, and it's the Wapello High School team. And so, I wanted to clear that up. But Paul Wilkerson made 3 towns happy today. But it's the Wapello state champion. 112 pounds. This is Ike Light. He's in the black. Jamie Cochran is in the blue for Moravia. This is 112 pounds. Light
has been rated number 1 all year.
So I
He was
played
the 103-pound state champion as a freshman last year.
Jamie Cochran, after high school, I don't know what he did in college,
the tournament,
but
and he has won
his son
3
Briar,
occasions
as
to
I
get to the
mentioned, was a state champion in Moravia in 2017. He
He
actually was running this little wrestling club called Swagger, what it was called. And I took my brothers, Shay and Brennan, there about 5 or 6 weeks in a row. They worked out with a guy named Nate Wentz, who's
the AAA class. Jeff McGinnis,
state champ, I think.
undefeated in
Zach
high
Barnes
school
was
from
there.
City High of Iowa
Tucker
City
Babbitt
against
was
Matt
there.
Matisse
Briar
Matheson
Cochran
of
was there.
Denison. So those are the
Long story
other
short,
matches we'll try to keep up on as we go.
Those were some of the hardest
that end
practices
early.
I've ever
We'll
seen
get to one
in
of
my
the
entire
others as
life.
quickly as we can.
College,
Lisbon
high school,
has so much
youth
tradition.
included.
And this year, they had
cow.
tragedy strike.
Moravia
Lisbon
guys,
has dedicated
they
the
go
1991
through a
season
gauntlet.
to former Lisbon state
At the end
champion
of
Brian
practice,
Smith.
like every
Smith
practice
was
that we
killed
went
in a
to,
farming accident in his home last
so many kids
December.
would be crying in
Smith
that
was a state
room,
champion at
and it sounded like
152 for Lisbon in 1989. And you'll notice
and
the
holy
singlets
cow,
have a
I
white
don't think I
ribbon
saw my
on the
brothers
left
wrestle
strap, and the
on
coaches
top of
wear
their
a black
game
armband.
quite
In
like
Brian's
they did
memory,
around
Brian
the
was
time
on the
we were
University of
hitting
Iowa
the
team as
practices
the
that were
redshirt freshman
put
this
on
year.
by Jamie
And
Cochran
kids don't
and
forget
Justin
their idols.
Thomas at W. It was really cool.
Glide against Jamie Cochran.
2.5 hours.
We're at Veterans Auditorium in Des Moines, where
to have those
a
practices.
full house.
They were totally good.
I sometimes
It
wonder
was
who,
taking on
who's
Ike
home to
Light.
watch.
Ike Light was a 3-time state champion at Lisbon. His older brother, Shane Light, 4-time state
You know,
champ.
story here,
Younger brother,
the Moravia coach,
his
Randy
older brother,
Alger,
Zach Light,
is
was a
from
2-time
Lisbon,
state champ.
and now he is a wrestler going against
Zach
this
and Blake were
right here, coming around.
so close to winning one more title than they did. Ike was real close to being
taking
4-timers.
control,
That's
so he gets 2 points.
No mistake
Zach
here.
Light
He's around the
was
former
a real close
Lisbonian
match
all the
with Darryl
time
Weber
now.
of Don Bosco
And
being
he
3-time.
says, you know, I know they put their pants on the same way because Coach
And I didn't
Sheldon was
realize
there.
that Jamie Cochran actually started out
Lisbonian.
before
I tell you, I grew up within three
down
miles
Ike Light.
of there, and I never heard anybody called a Lisbonian.
Ike Light
They're
was
just
sleek and
about
smooth
one
out
of the
there.
greatest wrestling. This is a nice. He
The
gets
more I
that
watch
ankle
Ike
back
Light,
there and he comes around. But
the more I
Lisbon, I'll
understand
tell you
his
what, they have a
style,
proud
the
tradition. They have a
fun
great
he
coach.
is
They have
for
a
me to
couple of
watch.
great coaches. Al Baxter started
Never
the
get tired
program, but
watching
Brad
Ike Light
Smith,
wrestle.
in my estimation, is one of the best out there.
It's not
He was
2-0 with the
one of the
second
most
period started.
popular
Cochran
wrestlers
got
in
the
the state of
takedown
Iowa in
just
that
at the end
entire
of the period. He starts
1993
this one on
graduating
top
class.
against Ike Light.
He was an
Jamie
underclassman
Cochran,
and junior high kid. I would say he was
Jeremy
more highly
Stewart
touted than even Jeff
in the
McGinnis.
first round.
By the time
He
Jeff
then
was in
beat Gary Anderson
senior
of
high
Winthrop.
school,
East
Jeff was
Buchanan
one of
in
the
the
sought
second
after
round,
recruits
9-6.
of the entire
Had
nation.
a tough match against Dan Gabrielson to get in
But,
here
at one time,
into the finals.
Ike Light
Here he is
ruled that
leading,
entire roost.
favored Ike Light.
Well, for being Moravia's
I
first
want to say it's either 2-0 or
finalist
2-2
ever,
right here. And
he's
Steve
really
Light
getting in there and
got
going
a,
after it.
takedown
No
at the
nerves, it
beginning
doesn't
or
look
not.
like.
I'm not going to have the
Has a
volume
good
on
strong
because it
arm bar on
muscles
Light,
up,
who is down
muffles
there
up.
where he doesn't want to be, right flat on
Audio
his
is so
stomach.
bad.
And here comes.
This would all be so
Cochran
much
right out
easier
front with that bar.
if it gave me the opportunity to practice.
He's feeling pretty
Which it probably
perky
does.
here.
You just be
Go
to
out there
figure
like
it out.
that against the defending champion.
So yeah, I'm going to have to do trial and error.
We really have to
and
push
just gonna
Light.
have
We've
to
got to push
use
him all
your
the way
guys'
because if you let up
help
1
throughout all
second,
this.
he'll take
So
advantage
anytime
of it
the
and score a
quality
lot of points.
proves
Out of bounds.
or it's
Go
gross,
back to the center. Now let's
please
look at the
mention
clock.
something in
51
the
seconds
comments
in the second
so I can
period.
figure it out.
Coach Brad Smith right there, and
He's
won a lot of things.
Hey, that's a young Brad Smith right there.
Lisbon
I
came
had
in here
Brad Smith
favored.
playing
Actually,
wrestling
they were
coach
in the
for
team
one
race
summer.
because they probably had a little bit
Was in
more
high school.
balance than Clarksville.
And
That is an escape now.
he's one of the
for
best,
1 point
just
by
in that
Ike
one
Light.
summer,
Back on his
one of the
feet,
best
trailing
coaches I
2-1,
ever had in my
40
entire life.
seconds to go in the second period. But Clarksville,
It was
although
was
they have
around
some
my
holes in the
sophomore,
lineup because
freshman,
of a lot of
sophomore
youth
year in high school.
on Coach
My
Peterson
dad started
says,
taking me to his
had some
practices in Iowa
awfully
City
good
High.
individuals.
I was working out
And
with
here's the
Josh
takedown
Watts,
for Light.
Corey
So his
Call.
first takedown puts him up by 1 with 30 seconds to go second
There's another
period.
one that would come in there.
Sensations
Anyways,
on
I was
the
getting some of
3A
the best
match.
workouts
Jeff
of my entire
McGinnis
life.
is up 7-0 with
doing
only
really
50
good and
seconds
improving
left in the
really,
second
really quickly.
period. And he's won all his
Wrestling
matches
better than I ever
this year
had
as a
been in
sophomore.
all
He
through
won
high
all
school,
his matches
probably.
last year as a freshman,
And
was a state champion.
Then
Jeff
a guy
McGinnis
named
over
Mark
Matt
Ryland got in touch
Patterson,
with
who's
my dad.
Denison's
And
first finalist
somebody
ever.
got in touch with me.
Brent
Somebody
Hagen,
from
the
Iowa City
coach
West got
there,
in touch with
after
Dad.
10
Like, hey,
years
Mac
at
Ryder
Denison,
and Corey Kalina
really
and Dustin
bringing that
Hinsberger
program along. You
practicing
can be
at Iowa City
proud.
West. Should bring Justin.
And I'll tell you, too, it's a
bring
2A
Justin there
match.
to practice
It's a
these
2-2
guys.
match there between
And
Dave
so that's
Morgan
what we
and Jason
did. So
Murray.
Justin had
Right here on the shot, he
there,
comes in on the
and
single leg.
I
He
had to
comes up
resort
his
to
feet. That was the
wrestling
secret
a guy
right
named
there.
Omar
He had
Maktabi.
good position, came
Got
around,
second
controlled the
state as a
hips for
senior,
2
but
points. Ike Light.
You know,
he leads
when I was
3-2
wrestling
now.
him, I
As
just
we
tried to
start
see how
the
many times
third
I could
period,
count.
and Light begins in the up position.
The one time that I can remember that my brother Justin wrestling was
It's 10-0 now.
but for good reason, considering Justin was the one that made it very well known that he was going to take this thing more seriously.
Clyde Bean, of course,
I was getting
coach
pretty
at Iowa
wild around
City
that
High.
time.
What a
I don't blame my
great
dad
career he's had
for
as his young
finding
sophomore
something
up
that worked
10-0
for my brother
with the
Justin
second
ahead of
period
me.
almost gone. And it's
I think
still
Justin would have worked out with Kyle
over on
Anson
Mat
when he was there. I
2A
don't think he had started
with Dave
him
Morgan
yet,
and
but,
Jason Nuri.
We just
he'd
had
have
an
been all right.
escape
He'd have
here
been all right too if he would have
for
stayed there. But
Cochran.
I know that I
3-3 going into the
was
last
getting
minute and 20
more
seconds
from
of the
Brad
match.
Smith's practices
Light of
than I ever
Lisbon,
had
undefeated
anywhere in my entire life.
against Jamie Cochran of Moravia. They each have a takedown.
Really wish
They
he
each
would
have an
have stuck out.
escape.
Get the shoot, son.
In that 2A match,
It's 4-2 now.
And this is an Alger right here from Moravia. Randy
There's
Alger.
Coach Randy Alger.
That's Royce and Brad's brother.
Alger's brother.
He was the head coach
So
for
everybody
Moravia
knows
back
who
then.
Royce Alger is, and
Cool to see him
Randy
there.
Alger
Royce
out
was
of
a
Lisbon,
three-time state champion
going
in
against
Lisbon.
his
I don't remember what
former high
Brad
school
did.
team.
I see his name all over the place though. Royce would go on to
Ike
become
Light,
world leaders for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
Jamie Cochran,
A fan favorite.
and whoever
Because
gets this
of his
takedown, if
personality
somebody
and
can get
whatnot.
one,
That whole family is
will probably win a state
favorite.
championship. We have 55 seconds to
Never
go.
met
Here
any of
comes
them, but
Light.
I've heard
He got
great
the
things.
takedown.
Really nice
There you go.
shot.
There you see
Kinda
Ike
went the
Light
opposite way right there.
starting to
Really
tack
has
on some
nice
points
finesse.
with his
A lot of match
just
sense.
smooth manner of wrestling.
Comes into what?
I always wanted to wear
nice
tights.
single leg back.
I always wanted to wear tights in the
Kinda
singlet. The coach would never let me.
His
But I always
move right
wanted to.
there and was able to
And I
dump
did all the way through AAU
the
wrestling.
Moravia wrestler,
And
Jamie Cochran,
the first
back
guy I
down to the
remember,
mat.
I
Now he's
remember
starting
getting
to
that
control.
idea from watching
And the
Ike
score
Light.
is 5-3. The referee
Looks like it just looks like you're wearing tights.
Here's
Makes
Light
it
with the
so much
arm
easier
bar.
to operate smoothly out there. I don't know.
Says it's
It
too
felt that way
dangerous.
too. Like,
Send them back
I
to the
remember wrestling
center.
in tights
23 seconds
in,
to go. A 2-point lead for
next
Light.
through 8th grade or whatever, and then freestyle if they would let me.
A 2-point
Just
lead
kind
for
of seemed
Light.
like when I was when you
Cochran on the under
maneuver
position.
around the mat that
Made
you
a
were able to
good
glide
first move.
slide the way. It probably
He
just
made a
meant
great first move
that
on
it
the
just
whistle.
felt like you were more sleepy.
And now Light sucks him back almost
Coach
into a near fall.
Cummings, though, he's just like, no, we are
There's
not
still
going to go out there
hope
looking
for
like
Cochran here.
that.
He's only 2 points down.
Well,
10
I
seconds
watched
left, but he's
Ike
got to
Light
get
wrestle in
up.
tights.
He
He looks
can't
pretty
win it down on his
good.
belly, but Ike Light's having a lot to say about that. Good control ride for the state
And
champion.
he's
Not
going to
everybody
finish it right here.
is tight control, but I am one that
The winner is Ike Light. His second.
and
He's
there
only
he
a
is. He just
sophomore.
got done winning his
He's probably
second
thinking
three
about,
titles with this win.
well, at least his third now.
I'll
Right?
tell you,
What's
you've
the score?
got to be happy because that was a tough match.
5-3.
against
Ike
Jamie
Light.
Cochran.
Moravia
That would've made
is
it,
real proud. That's right, their first finalist
1,
ever.
2, 3, 4.
He'll be
That'd have
back
been
next year
family,
too because
the Light
Cochran's
family's
also a junior. Here's that
combined
final.
wrestling title right there.
Well, this is
situation
where he had
winning
taken him down. But
nine
this
between
was,
the three
that
of
was a very nice
You saw
execution. It
Vance
wasn't a
Light, the-
takedown, but
from
it's
the
where
last
he
match
continued
that
to
we reviewed,
control
Vance Light
Cochran with
He
good
was the
execution.
1986 1A112
And
champion.
now we have a
He,
3A match still
here's
going.
Jeff
The
McGinnis.
2A match is over.
Yeah, I forgot they
It was won
But he's actually their
by
first cousin.
Nuri
He won 2
over Dave Morgan of New Hampton. And this is Jeff
This is
McGinnis
McGinnis
leading
versus Matt
13-2 against Matt Matheson of Denison. Now both these
This is
wrestlers were undefeated.
McGinnis'
Matheson
sophomore
had only
year.
10 matches coming into
And
this final
the
round.
vibe I
There
get
is
is by the time
McGinnis on
was
top,
sophomore,
continuing to
making
control
things
his man
very clear
with the legs in.
that he's gonna be a
He gave him 2 for a near
good
fall.
any college that taught him.
At the end of the third period, it's
Freshman
15
year,
degrees.
you know, guys
And
look
it's,
good.
and it's Jeff McGinnis'
oh,
second
man,
year. We have
hammers,
two
they- like, they-
sophomores that just
get a
finished
pretty big glimpse
back-to-back
as to
winning their
what
second
future's
state
gonna be.
championship. On their
Sophomore
way to
year, though,
four
this is when
possibly.
McGinnis, in my opinion, really started
Well, I'll tell you what, we have
separating himself
had the
from the others in his grade.
first 2 weights wrestled here, 103 and 112.
112 pounds in
Of course,
double A. The champion is Jason Nuri, a senior from Dyersville Beckman. His dream continued because to get to the
A
championship
lot of
tonight,
people that
he beat
discuss
last
goat
year's
debate
defending champion Jesse
in the
Whitmer of Eagle
90s.
Grove. Tonight he
They'll
defeated
say one
sophomore
of two
Dave
names,
Morgan of New Hampton
McGinnis, Eric
9-2.
Jurgens.
Even Steven right into the
Watched
third
about
period, but
every
in the
Eric
third
Jurgens
period,
match known to man.
Nuri
Watched a lot of
added
Jeff McGinnis.
5 back points.
And I
One
think
of them
when
a
those two were
30-second
seniors in
cradle
high
that you
school,
see right
they
here,
could have been a
and
good
he went
match.
on to win 9-2.
Like
The
a
champion
competitive
Jason
match.
Nuri of Dyersville
But
Beckman.
the difference between Jeff
All right,
McGinnis and
Dean.
Eric Jurgens, in my
Jeff
opinion,
McGinnis of Iowa City High
Both were
School is now
four-timers.
81-0
Never
and
lost
has
a high
a
school
chance
match.
to become a four-time champion. As Clyde Bean's wrestler won the title tonight at 112 pounds in 3A as he defeats Matt Matheson of Madison. And there was no question from the start. McGinnis went out with a picture of confidence, and there's your champion from Iowa City, Matt McGinnis, or it's Jeff McGinnis over Matt Matthiessen. Back to you, Doug.
And you know, honestly, that could be the last
place,
ever gave
Darren Hellman, Gilbertville, Don Bosco.
And from that point on,
place, Jeremy Schubert, Holstein, Galva Holstein.
And
fourth place,
Jurgens,
Dan Gabrielson, Belmont Clemmy.
I'm not going to call him
third
luck.
Place, Brad Canoyer, Carson, Macedonia.
Luck in wrestling, you know.
Runner-up, Jamie Cochran, Moravia. And the Class 1A 112-pound champion from Lisbon, Ike Light.
Jurgens was. By the time Jurgens was a senior, he was in great position. I think Jurgens came around when he was a junior in high school.
Shane and Zach.
He had that finals win over
together and saying
Mark Ryle from Fort
who your
Dodge.
favorites are. That's great.
Leave anybody out.
Dominant and doing it.
And now we're going to get the
that's
award.
when Jurgens officially etched his
in
name
the 2A class coming up here in just a very few moments. We have one more weight to go for the 1A. It's 125 yet to be wrestled. Then we'll go up to 2A for the next 4 weights.
The entire state of
3A.
Iowa that followed wrestling.
And we'll see the 2As that
put on notice
the heavyweight tonight. Because the 2A wrestler from
that was his junior
Brian Morris
presenting Class
is
2A
going to be
112-pound
title.
Coach Jim Durr of Dyersville, Beckman.
You know, it'd be a really
place,
fun match
Bob
to watch.
Edens, Comanche.
Corey Clark versus Eric
Fifth
Jurgens.
place, D. Clark, Knoxville.
Jeff McGinnis.
Fourth place, Brian Bennett, Jefferson
Guy
Scranton.
that I'd love to see him compete against.
Third place, Jesse Whitmer, Eagle Grove.
I would say Nate Jesseroga.
Runner-up, Dave Morgan, New Hampton.
From Southeast Road.
And the Class 2A 112-pound champion from Dyersville, Beckman, Jason Nuri.
Mark Schwab. Dan Knight.
Jason Nuri, who got to that place by beating some awfully good people. The young man on his left there, Jesse Whitmer from Eagle Grove, was a state champion last year.
Schwab only
and
lost
Nuri
one
upset
match,
him
and that was
in a whale of a match in the semifinals before
Bill Fellon of Mason City, I think.
Winning his final victory tonight
that
year at the championship round. Real proud coach Jim Durr of Dyersville Beckman. Now we have the 3A.
Presenting the Class 3A 112-pound awards. He was coached by Bean of Iowa City City High.
Versus Mark Schwab.
Sixth place, Darren O'Brien, Cedar Rapids, Jefferson. Fifth place, Jamie Sherbaum, Cedar Rapids, Prairie.
Some of these guys, I can't hear it because I've got
it on mute. Bobby Anderson, Des Moines East.
Read some of it. In fact, I'm going to play.
Third place, Jerry Mock, Des Moines Lincoln.
These guys are.
Runner-up, Matt Matthiessen, Denison. 2A 112-pound award, Coach Jim Durr.
Jason Nuri of Dyersville Beckman. Dick.
Actually, I'm going to go back to.
At the end of the third period, it's 15-3. And it's Jeff McGinnis' second. Here we have 2 sophomores that just finished back-to-back winning their second state championship.
I want to say his older brother
named Matt Murray.
They used to battle Eric Jurgens a couple years after.
Well, I'll tell you what, we have had the
champ that year. He's at a
first 2 weights wrestled here, 103 and 112 pounds in double A. The champion is Jason Nuri, a senior from Dyersville Beckman. His dream continued because to get to the championship tonight, he beat last year's defending champion Jesse Whitmer of Eagle Grove. Tonight he defeated sophomore Dave Morgan of New Hampton 9-2. Even Steven right into the third period, but in the third period, Nuri added 5 back points. One of them a 30-second cradle that you see right here, and he went on to win 9-2. The champion Jason Nuri of Dyersville
family out of Dyersville Beckman.
All right, Dean. Jeff McGinnis of Iowa City High School is now 81-0 and has a chance to become a 4-time champion. As Clyde Bean's wrestler won the title tonight at 112 pounds in 3A as he defeats Matt Matthiessen of Madison. And there was no question from the start. McGinnis went out the picture of confidence, and there's your champion from Iowa City, Matt McGinnis, or it's Jeff McGinnis over Matt Matthiessen. Back to you, Doug.
I've mentioned.
Sixth place, Darren Hellman, Gilbertville, Don Bosco. Fifth place, Jeremy Schubert, Holstein, Galva Holstein.
That's the Hellman, isn't it?
Fourth place, Dan Gabrielson, Belmont
from
Clemmy.
Bosco.
Third place, Brad Canoyer, Carson, Macedonia.
This is Jeremy Schubert.
Runner-up, Jamie Cochran, Moravia.
Fourth place is Dan Gabrielson.
And the Class 1A 112-pound champion from Lisbon, Ike Light.
Second place, Jamie Cochran. First place, Ike Light. We paused this real quick.
Dan Gable, Brad Smith, Rudy Light, my father.
I wanted to mention something about the 6th place guy. Darren Hellman out of Don Bosco. My brother Brennan, in his second, this has been his 3rd trip to the semis when he was a senior in high school. He wrestled a guy named Austin Hellman from Don Bosco. And every time I see Darren Hellman's name, I want to ask, is that Austin's dad? Because I used to talk to Austin's dad on the Predicament forums, but I never knew his first name. He used to post on the Predicament forums under a name called Corn-Fed Iowan. And yeah, he's always been a really nice guy. I want to say he made the finals one year. I think he got second the next year after this, actually. But if anybody can answer that for me, if Darren Hellman is Austin Hellman's dad, and Austin Hellman went on to get third in that bracket.
My brothers, Shane and Zach. Now that's putting a package together and saying who your favorites are. That's great. Leave anybody out. And now we're going to get the awards in the 2A class coming up here in just a very few moments. We have one more weight, to go for the 1As.
I'm going to be watching the comment section.
Then we'll go up to 2A for the next 4 weights.
Future D1 champ
before reaching 3A.
On this podium.
And we'll see the 2As at 100.
I'm going to have it on mute.
The heavyweight tonight.
So
because the 2A wrestler from
you're not going to be able to rely on that.
Presenting the class 2A,
going to be
award.
This podium right here.
Jim of Dyersville Beckman.
Pause it when it gets closer.
6th place, Bob Edens,
this
Comanche.
Podium right here. Which one of these
place,
guys
D.
is
Clark,
the
Knoxville.
D1 national champion?
4th place.
Anybody see him? First person to guess in the comment section gets a free t-shirt. Which one of these guys was a future D1 national champ? I don't even know if my comments are working at this point. So I'll give you about a minute of me just sitting here waiting. I'm pretty sure I may have lost all you guys. Whitmer, Mark Folkers. Mark, I'm going to send you a friend request from my personal Facebook so I can get your address where to send that to. Oh, Jeff McGinnis was so close. Mark Folkers says, Jesse Whitmer. And that's exactly right. 6th place in this one in 2A was Bob Edens from Comanche. 5th place was D. Clark of Knoxville. 4th was Brian Bennett of Jefferson Scranton. 3rd was Jesse Whitmer of Eagle Grove. He won state the year before at 2A 103. And that was the last time he did it. And he was a sophomore that year. He was a junior this year when he placed 3rd. And the next year, I want to say he got 3rd again, and he was beaten by Wilton, by a guy from Wilton named Juan Robles. That was a huge upset. So yeah, he went from getting 1st, 3rd, and would go on to the Hawkeyes, and he won an NCAA championship. Jesse Whitmer. Hell of a story. I bet Jeff McGinnis has got all kinds of cool stories about working out with a lot of these guys. Anyways, I'm sure that Jeff McGinnis and Mark Ironside had some battles in that room. And I'm sure that Jesse Whitmer was right in that mix too. Was right in that, and if he wasn't in that mix competing with guys, he was certainly benefiting from it. All right, so Dave Morgan was 2nd. Jason Nuri of Beckman was 3rd. Go ahead and hit play on this again.
Brian Bennett, Jefferson Scranton. 3rd place, Jesse Whitmer, Eagle Grove.
Of doing commentary.
Runner-up, Dave Morgan, New Hampton.
Let me know in
Class 2A 112-pound champion from Dyersville, Beckman, Jason Nuri.
I like
Jason Nuri, who got
definitely like doing it more than I
like
like
people. The young man on his left there, Jesse Whitmer from Eagle Grove, was a state champion last year.
Longest man in the
and
world.
Nuri upset him in a whale of a match in the semifinals before
Folkers, I'm going to add you to Facebook here pretty soon.
winning
You
his
just want
final
a
victory tonight at the championship round. Real proud coach Jim Durr of
Brian from Jefferson was 6th.
Now we have the
Jamie
3A.
Presenting the Class 3A 112-pound awards. Coach Clyde Bean of Iowa City City High.
Was 3rd.
6th place, Darren O'Brien, Cedar Rapids Jefferson.
Jeff McGinnis of Iowa City High was 1st.
5th place, Jamie Sherbon, Cedar Rapids Prairie. 4th place, Bobby Anderson, Des Moines East.
Running into him altogether.
3rd place, Jerry Mock, Des Moines Lincoln.
They took wrestling seriously.
Matt Matheson, Denison. And the Class 3A 112-pound champion from Iowa City City High, Jeff McGinnis.
Increased their chance of winning,
Still in the running.
Yeah.
The
last
state
game
championship maybe.
One of the
Let's go to up-and-comers. Let's
He
go
just
to
didn't make any
Dean
mistakes. All right. Well, all right. All right. So looks like I've still got a handful of you guys watching. If there's anything that you guys would like to discuss, a YouTube video that you would like me to comment on right now, I'm welcome to it, because right now I'm wanting to learn as much as possible about how to do this correctly. The only way to learn as much as I possibly can with this thing is experience. So I would like to welcome you all with open arms to request something so you can watch me struggle so you can watch me struggle through some more of these things. And let me get to some of these comments that I may have missed. Mark Folkers. Where'd you wrestle at, Mark? I see that last name and I keep thinking Folkers from Albia, but I know that's not it. And since oh, look at that. Is Emma Cochran, is that Jamie's daughter? If so, we're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about Simpson wrestling, which is where Jeff McGinnis coaches. God, what a staff they've got there. Dylan Peters and Jeff McGinnis. You see, Dylan Peters almost was a 4-time undefeated state champ himself. He was a 3-time state champ out of Denver Tripoli. Had the best pancake ever. The only match he lost in high school was his freshman finals match at 2A 106. I don't remember what year it was, but he got beat by a kid named Alex Spooner. Where was he from? Forest City? Anyways, Dylan Peters weighed 85 to 88 pounds when he wrestled in the state finals at 2A 106 as a freshman in high school. And he never lost another match. And you know, he has an excuse for losing that one. He was wrestling against guys that were at a high level that weighed 20 pounds more than him. In fact, some of the guys that Peters wrestled against when, like, especially on day 2 especially on that last day where everything was on full feed, I wouldn't be surprised if some of his opponents weighed 120, 125 pounds when he wrestled these guys. And this is a kid that weighed 85 to 88 on full feed. And Dylan Peters was outstanding. Imagine that. Jeff McGinnis and Dylan Peters on the same staff at Simpson. These guys, some of you high school wrestlers out there that haven't looked into Simpson College wrestling, and girls wrestling, which I believe Jeff McGinnis is the head girls wrestling coach. Any boy or girl out there that has aspirations of competing at the college level, if you don't look into Simpson College wrestling, and if you don't at least give them a visit and meet their staff, then you're cheating yourself, because I can't think of a better duo that you can come up with than Dylan Peters and Jeff McGinnis. And they were good in such totally different ways. You had Jeff McGinnis that was technically brilliant, like a technique genius, and he was also strong and fast. But then you also had Dylan Peters, who was like the knockout king. It's like Jeff McGinnis was Muhammad Ali and Dylan Peters is Mike Tyson. Dylan Peters had that knockout punch, and Jeff McGinnis, he had that knockout punch, but he can also systematically destroy people, in which Peters could do that too. But it's just really cool. Anybody that wrestles for Simpson College, they're probably able to pick up a lot of valuable things from 2 totally different worlds of wrestling. Very cool. When I scroll down, so somebody can answer: Is Emma Cochran Jamie Cochran's daughter? If so, I'm going to try and bring up something else real quick. Well, I'm going to bring it up no matter what, but here, let me screenshot and I'm going to email it to myself. Some news that I had not heard about until right now. Actually, so let me do it this way. That way I don't have to take up any more of your time. Can you see that? I might need to Nah, I'm going to send it. That's half-assed. All right. All right, give me about 1 or 2 minutes for me to bring up a picture. We're going to talk about some girls wrestling right now from Simpson College, which is where Jeff McGinnis is at. There we go. Any of you out there that are still listening, thanks for being a trooper and keeping up and being patient enough to make it through with me. And thanks for your help. Also, call in if you'd like to talk wrestling with me. I haven't gotten offline yet. I don't have anything to do tonight. All right, gonna save that as... Almost got it. All right, can you guys see that? From the Simpson Wrestling Instagram, it says Emma Cochran, women's wrestling head assistant coach. Welcome, Coach Cochran. Simpson Storm Women's Wrestling. And it's spelled different. Jamie Cochran's last name is spelled Cochrane. But she sure looks like Jamie and Breyer. Right? She looks like she could be related to them. Is this their relative? It says Simpson College Athletic Director Marty Bell and head women's wrestling coach Jeff McGinnis are pleased to announce the hiring of Emma Cochran as head assistant coach for women's wrestling. She's a Chariton, Iowa native. Okay. So she didn't go to Moravia. So I'm guessing if that is a misspelling of her name on this picture right here, if it is in fact spelled with an E at the end, then I'm guessing she's related to the other Cochrans. Anyways, kind of a coincidence though that we're talking about McGinnis and Jamie Cochran, and they just hired somebody with the last name Cochran at Simpson to work with McGinnis. Very cool. So big things happening at Simpson College. Simpson College has been the home of some great wrestlers from my town. Joel Baker wrestled there. I want to say Heath Hilliard. If you're watching out there, Heath Hilliard, Joel Baker. I doubt Joel Baker's watching. This isn't really his thing. I posted a video of Joel Baker as a senior pinning New Hampton's Corey Beckman for 3rd and 4th place at state when Corey was a sophomore and Joel was a senior. And Corey would go on to win 2 titles in his last 2 years. But Joel wrestled like the best match of his entire life and pinned Corey Beckman in about 35, 40 seconds. I just posted that last week. So other Simpson wrestlers, Tony Hager from IA Wrestle, is a 2-time runner-up out of Ogden. He wrestled at Simpson. Hager's one of these guys that if they had a like 115 to 120 pound division back in his day, he would have had a different college career. He was always undersized in college. He's one of these. I mean, he was a 103 pound senior. So I mean, you can about imagine. Anyways, big things for Simpson. I'm going to go through some of these comments. I want to know who this one was about. Because we're talking about McGinnis. We're talking about Ike Light. We're talking about Tom Brands, talking about Chad Zaputil. We're talking about everybody. And this guy is incredible. Surely he couldn't have been talking about me, right? Because I watch these things over and all I can do is just sit back and try and count the ums and likes that I say in my speech. That's a work in progress too. I also hope to become a better speaker after doing some of these. But man, if that was about me, then holy cow, what a compliment that was. Randy Picard, good. Okay, this is when I was doing my Another note, I talked about Andre Vandervelde a little bit ago, but somebody put a bug in his ear and let him know that I'm going to be contacting him pretty soon about headlining a potential wrestling/music event in the near future at my parents' house. Haven't made any steps in terms of setting this up, but it's just cool to think about. I've got one huge step out of the way, and that's growing a platform to where I can actually promote a successful event like this. So that's done. Now it's just a matter of learning how to do it. Matt Hoover was a state champ out of Belle Plaine, wasn't he? Gets pretty jumbled when you're talking. Oh, okay, this is when I was still testing things out. Big thanks to everybody who tuned in tonight. I know how frustrating it probably was watching me stammer through the tech issues. And how do you guys like the name for the podcast? I think we're live. Pindocs presents Pindocs. I think we're live. It's different. There's nothing that really has a name quite like it, but I just think it's fitting because it kind of depicts that whoever is going to be on the show with me are, to an extent, wrestling savants, because it's like, yeah, we can talk wrestling for hours and we can do it at a high level, but man, we don't know if we're live or not because our technical savvy is non-existent. So, IA Wrestle's got Potentially Dangerous. Stalemates has got Stalemate Street League for their event. Flow Wrestling, I don't even know what Flow Wrestling does. I've never watched a single episode. The only time I've ever been to Flow Wrestling is if I've watched a match or two. I've never been in that world. But I want to say that theirs is like FRL or something. I don't know what it stands for. But I think we're on. And that way I want to have a title for the show that's open-ended, because if I have a day where I don't want to talk about wrestling, I don't want to be expected to talk about wrestling. And if I have a name for a show in which wrestling is a part of the title of the show, then I would be expected to talk about wrestling every single week. So if you don't like the name for the podcast, I think we're on, or I think we're live, then give me some comment in the comments. Give me some ideas as to what I could name it, because I hate naming things. And one of these days I'll have to get on a live show and give you the entire history from day one of the Pin Doctors, why I started it, how I started it, when it grew, how I grew, like what my approach was, all that stuff. And like one of the most interesting parts of the story will certainly be the very first step, which was coming up with a name for this damn thing. This thing, the Pin Doctors, it had 2 or 3 different names that I chose before I settled on the Pin Doctors. What I did was I started out by jotting down about 200 or 300, literally 200 or 300 potential names for sites. I wanted something that sounded cool and something that was, that you could tell was related to wrestling, but not 100%, not 100%, when you like the pin, like Pin Doctors, when you think of pins, yeah, you think of wrestling, but at the same time, they can apply to all sorts of different things. I wanted something that you can abbreviate, like I have with Pin Docs, because it's like, you can't make just because it would be much easier if I were to grow it, if I were to, develop an app or a station from it further down the road, it'd be a lot easier to have a shortened version of the name, like Pin Docs, than it would the Pin Doctors. I mean, it's just a lot to take in. And so that's why I settled on the Pin Doctors and Pin Docs. But that was my 4th one that I chose. And you hear how stupid some of the other names I had were. And what I did was I did process of elimination, and I got down to like 10. And Pin Doctors was, originally eliminated when I got to about 6 or 7. I want to say first name I settled on was Rex Wrestling with a W, WREX Wrestling. Stupid. Like I cringe thinking about it. I think Flex Wrestling, something like that. Ugh, stupid. Like the flex like this. That's where the flex comes from. These earlier stupid ideas. Like I wanted something that, I had the logo done before I had the name picked out. Like Flex Wrestling. Oh my God, it's so stupid. Swag Wrestling. I mean, missed that word by about 5 years. That would have been, at the time, it's like, was I trying to be cool when I thought of swag wrestling? Because I wasn't. That word was cool at one point, but I am really, really happy that I ultimately settled on the Pin Doctors. You have no idea, because my other names that I had before this were so stupid. Anyways, I drove my little brothers, and Jeremiah Buttress, how does he get thrown into this? He was going to do some art for me when I first started developing this idea. And I had my brothers in a group text and JJ Buttress and 200 or 300 ideas for names. And JJ and my 3 brothers got all of them. So JJ is probably just like, God damn, Swafford has gotten crazy. See, JJ and I have known each other since we wrestled at AAU State when I was in 5th grade. And then we wrestled in high school. So we've known each other for a long time. But he's probably just like, man, this dude has just gone off his rocker. I wonder if he had any idea that a short 3 years later, we'd be up to over 40-some thousand followers. If he had any idea, if he didn't know that at the time, then it probably really doesn't surprise him too much, considering he probably knew damn well that at that time, as crazy as I came off with sending him all these names for the site, at least I was willing to grind out a bunch of work, grind out a bunch of content. If anybody over the years has known that I was capable of producing the content that I have from the starting point to now, it's been JJ Buttress, just because of how much I annoyed him when I started it. Which he hasn't admitted that to me yet. He hasn't admitted to me that how annoying I was, but it's just because he's nice. I think the only guy that didn't get annoyed with me through the naming process was my brother Brennan. He was, because he was trying to think of stuff too with me. My brothers Shay and Justin, though, they probably put me on ignore for a while. Ugh, that was a bad stage. Anyways, and I'm having the same issue trying to name this show. I'm also having the same issue trying to come up with a name for a wrestling tournament or a wrestling dual meet in the future that I would like to promote. So I am all ears if you guys have any suggestions as to what I could name a Pin Doctors wrestling event or what I should name a podcast. I'm all ears, because if it's one thing that I don't like doing, it's naming. And I think that with my 3 daughters, I came up with 2 of the 3 names. I can't believe it. I've got a daughter named Kaya. That's my oldest. That was my ex's name. That's my ex came up with that. And Phaedra, Phaedra, is a Greek name. That was my I chose that name. It's a Greek goddess was named Phaedra. I'm a geek that likes to read about all that stuff, and the name Phaedra was in a song called Some Velvet Morning that I really like. So yeah, my daughter Phaedra is named after a song. And then Zeta, Zaida, that was because I wanted to name her Zeta, Zeta, because I always liked Catherine Zeta Jones. And my ex-wife was like, I can deal with that, but we can't spell it that way. So you have to come up with a different spelling. So I just made that one up, Zaida. I wish naming this stuff was just as easy as naming my kids. How's that for sad? All right, let's get to some of these other ones. Kelby Bachman, if you're still watching, I'd like to get you on here sometime. I feel like we can help each other. For those of you who don't know, Kelby has a podcast on Facebook. Go ahead and click on his profile in the comments and check it out. Oh, God dang it. I'll post it in the comments, but go to his page on Facebook and like his podcast. It's actually, I'll look it up right now. I should remember it, but having a brain fart. I remember when I was first starting out and how much I was hoping that one of these guys that had been in wrestling media for years before me, I remember hoping that they would help me out. And there was only one person that ever reached out and offered to help me. And that was a guy named Tony Hager from IA Wrestle, which is ironically a guy that a lot of people to this day affiliate with me having a huge feud with. But that was just the start of me and him putting things behind us. He's the only wrestling media guy that ever reached out to me wanting to help me. And, I've known since then that if there's any guys that start things up after me, I'm certainly never going to sabotage anybody. And I'll do whatever I can to help them succeed. Because a lot of wrestling media outlets, it almost feels like they think they're competing against each other. But if you're true to your voice, if you're true to covering wrestling the way that you cover wrestling and being yourself the entire time while you do it, then you shouldn't worry about anything, because people aren't going to just not read IA Wrestle just because they like to read Pin Doctors. People aren't going to stop reading Pin Doctors because they prefer IA Wrestle. If there's content out there for them to read or to see or to view, they'll check it out. In fact, it'll increase following, it'll increase viewership and reads and hits and whatnot for our pages. I think that it increases things. It increases the traffic that we'll get if we support each other, because it allows us to create more wrestling fans. Like if there's another outlet that's out there creating more wrestling fans that weren't fans before, that's great for the sport, and it's great for other places that cover it. It's the way I look at it. And a place like Flow, they could never duplicate what I'm doing the way I do it, because it's me. And I could never duplicate what IA Wrestle's doing the way they do it, because that's them and that's the way they do it. And they're nothing alike. And I feel like different outlets with the ones we have now, they complement each other well. So the sooner that these wrestling media outlets stop feuding with each other and considering each other competition with each other, the better it will be for the sport. Let's face it, wrestling was almost taken out of the Olympics a few years ago. We don't have a pro league. Wrestling has some growing to do still. And anything that sabotages the potential for growth in the sport of wrestling is, I don't know, it just needs to go out the window immediately, sooner rather than later. I'm kind of got a grandiose way of thinking sometimes, and I'm one of these guys, and you can't convince me any differently, that I firmly believe that a pro league, if put together the right way, could work. You go to the Iowa High School State Wrestling Tournament, and I've never been to any other state tournament, so sorry if I'm leaving those other ones out. But when you go to the Iowa High School State Wrestling Tournament and you watch not only the matches that take place in front of you, especially in those semis and the final rounds, if you pay attention to more than just the wrestling that takes place in some of these matches at the state tournament, you look at the crowd, you feel the buzz in the air, and you look at the way that people react to things. You see a scramble, and you see this section of the crowd over here cheering when this guy's on top, and this section over here. People are 100% engulfed in what they're watching at this tournament. And I don't know if a person has ever witnessed it or observed this at the Iowa High School State Wrestling Tournament. I don't know how they could leave the event feeling hopeless in terms of spreading the popularity of the sport, because it for sure works in Iowa. If we can get people to where they're emotionally engaged with this sport the way they are in Iowa, and I'm sure other states as well, and if we just find a way for the common spectator to learn the sport to where they know what's going on, to where it looks like something more than just a couple of guys or girls rolling around in spandex, to where they knew what they were watching, to where they had more to offer than just making fun of us, then I think we can get it there. Why couldn't we? Why couldn't it work as a pro league? Oh, well, is this just not the type of sport that the general fans want to watch? It isn't? Okay, well, I've been to every different sports state tournament at the high school level in Iowa, other than soccer. Hate soccer. I've watched state cross country. I've watched state track. I've watched state basketball. I've watched state football. I've watched state baseball. And they're all fun time. All of them are great to watch, but they didn't have that same electric feel in the air that the Iowa High School State Wrestling Tournament did. And yet these other sports have pro leagues that work really well and have for decades. So I don't know. I think there's a chance. I think that there's a way, and And as long as I'm on this wrestling quest, I know that that'll be something that I try to get done. I'll try to, if somebody was to ask me what my goal for wrestling is right now, I want to grow the sport to the point where our athletes are getting paid for their efforts. Because the athletes that wrestling produces, I'm not going to sit here and say that they work harder than athletes of other sports, because, you know, I haven't tried some sports. So what do I know? But I can confidently say that there's no other athletes from any other sports that work harder. And I just feel like wrestlers deserve to be compensated for it. Not to mention, if wrestlers are being compensated for their efforts, what better motivator could you get than that for other kids to start to try it out? You know, wow, I could become good. Like say somebody quit basketball because they're 5'7" or 5'8", and they're really, really good at basketball, but they, you know, just physical, they weren't going to make it at the college level or the pro level or something, just because of some sort of physical limitation that they may have, like their height. So they try wrestling out. You know, this same athletic person tries wrestling out with hopes that maybe this will be their journey to succeeding further down the road past high school. You know, what better way to get these guys out than finding a way for our wrestlers to be compensated? I don't know. That's not where I was going with that, but I lost my train of thought. I want to get back to these comments. Kelby Bachman says, I want to see some Joshua Swafford highlights. That may be the first time that's ever been requested. I'll watch some Josh Swafford right now. I have a few on my YouTube. I'd rather go to one where I don't lose. I'll post matches on my YouTube account where I lose. I have no shame in that. It happened. But I also have some big ones that I won. There's a match that I have against my future college workout partner named Ryan Haggerty, where we actually, and Haggerty became an All-American for us at Loris. So he's really, really good. Plays third in 3A at 3A 160. Anyways, we met up twice my senior year in high school, and I pinned him the first time. Then 5 days later, he beat me. I could play both matches to where, you know, if I were to play the match where I pinned him, it wouldn't be just like, oh yeah, here's this match of me pinning my buddy Haggerty. Hopefully you're cool with that, Haggerty. That way I can like play the one where he beat me, and at least, you know, we're equal. If you guys are gonna stick around, hell, I'll watch some of that. I don't have anything to do tonight, and it's one of those rare nights where I don't have my kids. I'm gonna be up all night trying to apply for jobs, and so I've got plenty of time. I can stay on this thing all night if you guys are willing to hang out with me. All right, I'll find something in me. For those of you who have not watched me wrestle before, I hold the Minneapolis high school wrestling records for season and career near falls to this day, in which we only had like half the matches that the guys that came after us have. So guys like Cole Erickson, Steve Holloway, Drew Foster, Brennan Swafford, Chase Swafford, hell, they had 50 to 60 more matches than we did. So I feel very fortunate that my two records survived those guys, because I'm the only Swafford from the old days that survived all these guys. Drew Foster, his first tournament, he beat my dad's 30 or 40-year-old fastest pin record in his first tournament, and my dad was coaching him in his corner. He pinned this guy in 6 seconds as a freshman, first week of the season, and my dad, who held the record before him, 7 seconds, was his coach in the corner. It's kind of funny how time sorts things. My brother Justin used to have the pins and the single season and career record percentage, shit like that. He's not in the books anymore. It's just me. It's just me and a guy named Kyle Salick has the escapes record, which is the record you don't want. And Kyle Salick's one of my best friends. And if you're watching right now, bud, I want to, not trying to not hear anything, and you know that, but I just want to make it known to everybody that he's got the second best headlock in the world, following yours truly. All right, so we'll see. I was really weird. I liked wrestling on top because so like basically I went out there with the objective of either ending it real quick or getting on top and just racking up a lot of near fall points to where it was out of reach quick, because I had a tendency to have adrenaline dumps to where I died in the third period pretty bad. So you're going to see a lot of near falls. Basically any match you can ever watch of me, you'll see a lot of near falls, because that's exactly what I was trying to do. Oh, there's another cousin of mine, James Lang of Centerville. He was a state champ, and he's my cousin. I wrestled him at the Mediapolis Invite. I've got that on YouTube. He beat me in overtime, so we're not going to watch that one. We can watch. No. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and watch my matches with Haggerty. First match is going to be the one that I won, and the second match is going to be when we met up 5 days later. Ryan Haggerty was the third place 3A 160 guy in high school, and he would go on to become an All-American in D3 for Loras College. And if you're out there watching right now, just know that we're going to watch the one where you beat me here right after this one's over with. All right, so me versus Ryan Haggerty, round one. Right here.
Oh man, his arm. His arm. I don't know whose arm that is. His arm.
All right. I'm in the orange and black. Ryan Haggerty's in the black and gold. When guys that were on our team found out that we were rivals in high school, man, everybody on our team razzed the hell out of us. Like, I got razzed for getting beat by Haggerty 5 days after this match. He got razzed forever about me this match. But this day, I am one of my best friends. This right here, full tilt, I hit this in about 60% of the matches that I ever wrestled. I'm not trying to brag, but I was deadly with that. Right when somebody gave me that near leg, I went for it hard. You're like right this right here. And it's funny, when I wrestled Haggerty in college, I never got him in one of these. It was like he had PTSD from this dude after this match. Every time I tried hooking that near leg in practice, it was like he'd freak out, and it's like, oh man, I'd get close to going to my back because he'd freak out so badly. Yeah, right here. Yeah. Really pumped up how this turned out at the time. I had a lot of respect for Haggerty, still do.
Oh man, his arm. His arm.
Actually, behind the scenes stuff about this one that I've never talked about. I was actually at the police station until 6 in the morning before leaving for this tournament, because my brother Justin and I got pulled over, and one of our friends had left something in our. One of our friends had a gun that they were using for target shooting.
We have another tape.
And he had it. I acted with him, and our friend was with us when we got pulled over, and we almost got in trouble for that. Our friend did get in trouble for it. We did. So yeah, I wrestled that match. Justin wrestled against Dominic Moyer in that little hard-fought overtime match. That was with no sleep. Okay, so that was our first meeting. Then 5 days later, I met with him here, which the match is honestly kind of boring. A lot of it is just me stalling on bottom and trying not to win. So I'll just spin through a lot of it. I'll probably go to a different one of my matches if you're cool with that, Shelby. I hate this match. I'm just trying to be fair to Haggerty on this one. Haggerty hates that other match. I started out real strong. I hated that. I would hit the 3-minute mark, and it would feel like I was trying to wrestle underwater with the sounds all muffled, like so exhausted. It's frustrating because I can go 2 hours of practice and not get winded every single day. Yet 3 minutes in competition, I'd feel like I was hitting a brick wall. Anxiety can do a lot of things. It can do a lot of negative things to it if you don't get a grip on it. All right, I got the first break, man. We'll just do the scoring start. Haggerty starts working this ball and chain, or guillotine, I guess they call it. And this is basically the rest of the match. It's Haggerty ripping my arms out of my socket, trying to guillotine, and me trying to fight it. It's 2-2 right now. This is 6th and 2A, which is me, and 3rd and 3A, which is Haggerty. A little bit down the road. Yeah, I'm not going to put you guys through all this stuff. I just want to give Haggerty some props. Get your hip moving, Doc. I mean, see, he was just no mercy with that guillotine. And this match right here was actually a triple Bruhl with Mediapolis, Pennsylvania, and Burlington. I was actually more anxious than I had been for any match in my entire life that day. But it was because of the Burlington meet that we had. I had to wrestle my practice partner for first and 8th grade in Burlington. His name was Adam Roberts. The Mediapolis and Burlington shared a youth wrestling club. My dad ran it. Half of those guys went to West Burlington. The other half went to Mediapolis. It's like we went from being brothers to huge rivals and enemies. And I had to wrestle my practice partners for 1st or 8th grade. He was ranked 3rd in 3A coming in. I wasn't even thinking about the Haggerty match. I knew Haggerty was good, but I mean, hell, I just pinned him in the first period 5 days before this. I was thinking about Adam Roberts. So then my first match of the night was this one against Haggerty, and about see it on my face just how freaking annoyed and bedraggled I am, because it's just like, God dang, I haven't even wrestled Roberts yet, and here I am about ready to take a loss to a guy that I just beat 5 days ago. I was really, really struggling mentally at this point right now in the match. And then I go out to wrestle against Adam Roberts, and I hit a fluke headlock right off the Lisbon. And it was like when the referee hit the mat at that moment, it was like a huge weight was lifted off. There was too much pressure on both of us to win that match. Our dads would tell us, like my dad would tell us, if you get beat by Adam Roberts, and that basically shows that Burlington does a better job of training their guys in high school than Mediapolis does. We hadn't wrestled since 8th grade. We were pretty even in 8th grade when we parted. And his dad was telling the same shit. Like, his dad was telling kind of the similar stuff, like, you gotta be cooperative because you don't want to make Burlington High School look bad. You guys were even when you guys parted as 8th graders, and one of the worst memories of my life. I didn't want these guys were like brothers to me. Burlington guys, I didn't want any of them to lose. I didn't want to wrestle any of them. I didn't want to beat any of them. I wanted them to win every match that they wrestled in high school. It's not against us. It just sucked. It was like having to compete against some of your lifelong brothers with some of the intense mistake possible. See, this Haggerty he really let me have it that day. But thank God I beat Robert. Otherwise, we could probably go down as the first night of the fight. I'll pull another one up. We're there, and I don't want to watch this one anymore. Here we go. I look pretty good in this one, I guess. Talented freshman right here named Nathan Cook in the deep good. I came out to this one really, really quickly because somebody from Hempstead had said that Cook was going to beat me. He was a couple years younger than me. Just gone. Being the black and orange, being a jackass. Another thing, to be really, really cocky. Almost felt like the more cocky I was, the less anxiety I felt. Like if I was spending my time thinking about anything other than how anxious I was, then I would do it. I guess resorting to that sort of behavior to where I was doing this to his head. I did that shit all the time. I heard this kid was like a 3-time AAU state champ. He was either a freshman or sophomore that year. And I heard that he quit wrestling after this, which made me sad because he was a really, really good underclassman. He had a brother, I believe, named Tyler Ryan Travis. And yeah, it shows me out here beating this poor kid pretty bad. His defense, he was still he was either a freshman or sophomore. And I don't think he lost the high school match before this one. Oh, it's so good. Hempstead's going to win a big one tomorrow. I don't care if that older sophomore is a senior. He's not as good as the younger ones. You guys know that these people knew I was reading it because I was like the most regular poster on the forum. I've been writing about wrestling since I was 15. People knew it. They're probably just doing it on purpose to don't piss me off. It worked. Thank God I handled it okay. And so they got they wrestled pretty good in this one. I wish this kid would have stuck it out, though. He had a lot of talent. I'm watching this, and it's becoming more clear to me that the only reason I was able to do what I was able to do to him in this match is because I was more mature. But I was one of these guys that was a 152-pounder as a senior in high school, and I kept growing in college. I had to cut weight to make 197 the last time I ever wrestled. So yeah, that's a lot. I had a lot of that frustration too, maturity-wise. Maturity-wise, I felt like a little boy all the way until my senior year. My senior year is the only year I had where I didn't feel like I was totally physically out there. I always felt just as strong as people, but I don't know. When I matured, I became really strong. But yeah, Forest College recruited me. They expected me to be a 157-pounder with a bad expected surprise on the first weigh-in that we had. And I weighed like 205 pounds like a week into my freshman season. They're like, okay, so I guess we are not going to see you at 157 this year. What? You ever going to close this? No, I wrestled at 174 and 184 most of my college career. Kept growing. Didn't stop growing until I was 21. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you would have won. Really tough weight to be at a freshman, especially when you're wrestling against a senior who goes on the face to be affected by.
Careful, could you take him back?
Oh. Yeah, cradles. A lot of cradles. Thanks for requesting this, by the way, Kelby. If it's one wrestler that I just were not interested in watching a whole lot of, it'd be me. So kind of made my day seeing that. All right, well, you guys get the drift. Definitely didn't like being on my feet. Another thing, I had hip dysplasia at that time, and I didn't know it. That's actually what ended my wrestling career. I bumped up my knee, got my knee checked out, and while they did the x-rays and MRIs of my knee, they were like, are you aware that you have this weird case of dysplasia that you were born with? I'm like, well, I wasn't aware of it, but that a lot as to why I felt pain in my hips all these years and why it was hard for me to do stuff like hit a stand-up or turn the corner on a high crotch, just stuff like that. you know, it explained a lot. It sucked. If I ever put on an old timers tournament, you better believe that I'm going to be competing in it myself, because I've always wanted to see how I would do competing with my reconstructed hip. Because in order to fix my hip with my hip dysplasia, they had to cut my hip into 3 pieces, cut the ball off my femur and relocate that, and restructured my hip, screwed it all together, and my hip has felt like $1 million since. Ever since that surgery, I basically come to the conclusion that before my surgery, I didn't know what it was like to live life without hip pain until I didn't have it anymore. I got so used to having hip pain from the time I was a little kid all the way that I didn't know that I had hip dysplasia. It's just how I felt all the time. I grew accustomed to it, so it didn't even bother me. I just, you know, if I felt like my hip was hurting, it's just like, well, it's just normal. And then it was like the next day after my surgery, I'm just like, oh my God, this is what it feels like to have a normal set of hips. Well, not even a set, a normal right hip. You know, it felt like $1 million. So I've always wanted to see how I would do competing with normal hips, you know, with at least not dysplasia in my right hip. I mean, that's just one of those questions that will bother me forever if I don't figure out some sort of way to answer it. So yeah, if I do one of these events where we have old timers wrestling in it, you better believe I'll be competing against somebody. Eric Jurgens actually was just like, hey, McClenahan is trying to put on an old timers tournament. They're trying to get me and Cole Pape to wrestle each other. He's like, I think you should wrestle against Cole Pape, since you guys were the semifinals match in high school. And since since Cole Pape was basically 5 weights above me. Let me rephrase this. I'm getting mumbling real bad. Jurgens said something along the lines of, yeah, they want me and Cole Pape to wrestle each other at this old timers gig, but I think I should wrestle somebody else, and we should have you wrestle Pape since you're closer to his weight. Not to mention he's the guy that beat you in the semis at state. And it's like, you know, as much as I'd like to see Jurgens and Pape just for the hell of it, I would wrestle against Cole Pape. I wouldn't be expecting to beat him or anything. He handled me pretty good. I would wrestle anybody just to see how I would compete with a shitty hip, or I would wrestle against anybody just to see how I would do with my hips fixed, because I've never wrestled with good hips ever. And tell you what, that was quite the day for my dad when he learned the news about that. Because it's just like, he knew damn well how many butt chewings I got from him over the years, because I wasn't able to hit a stand up the right way, or I wasn't able to hit the corner on a high crotch, certain little technique type stuff that I wasn't able to do quite perfectly. They used to just drive my dad out of his mind. It all made sense to him too. And it's just like, I think it just all became an epiphany for him. It's like, oh no, it's like I chewed his butt for over a decade for not being able to do certain things that he literally wasn't able to physically do. I actually felt bad for my dad in that instance, because how was he supposed to know? Anyways. All right. Well, whoever sends the most stars gets a free t-shirt, and gets my eternal love. And you're going to be an eternally beloved figure in my life that I'll always remember. Honestly, if I ever make it with this thing to where I can actually financially support myself with this thing, I will always remember those who helped me when I started out, because this has been quite the struggle. John McLaughlin. I was hoping he saw that. He says, oh, look, another McLaughlin, Keith McLaughlin. I missed that, actually. I didn't see where that was. Kelby Bachman, love the bleached hair. Dude, I don't know if it's the 2001 grad in me speaking or not, but that was the coolest fad that has ever gone through our culture, is bleached hair. Frost highlights in your hair. You look at pictures from guys in my era from back then. Like if you look at the Grand March from back then, God, it seemed like 75% of those guys, including myself, had bleached hair or highlighted hair. But you know what? That was so cool looking. I don't know. And just because you thought that was cool looking doesn't mean that you were a Backstreet Boys or NSYNC wannabe. No. I wish that it'd come back in style so I can do it again. I might actually just do it again just because I like it. Nah, probably not. I think my hair is too thin now. Well, not really, actually. All right. Well, thanks a lot, everybody, for chiming in and giving me pointers on what to do as far as the audio with the commentaries. Hopefully I'll do a better job of it next week. And I would expect some more live broadcasts. I would expect at least 2 or 3 of these this week. I'm going to get my buddy Adam Gottschalk. He was a state champion in 2002 at 3A 112. I'm going to get him on. I'd like to get Jeff McGinnis on one of these days. I'm going to get Jake Prazak. He's the world record holder for bench press. He bench pressed 920 pounds. His son placed at state this year for Central Springs. I'm going to get him on. I got a lot of guys I'm going to get on. I've got a lot of guys I'm going to invite to be a guest on the show. That was a bad way of phrasing it. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it.